All right, I think we're good in terms of getting this all warmed up. So let's get right into it.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
But the choice between the blue and the red pill is not really a choice between illusion and reality. Of course, Matrix is a machine for fictions, but these are fictions which already structure our reality. If you take away from our reality the symbolic fictions that regulate it, you lose reality itself.
I want a third.
Well, he was supposed to say I want a third pill, but I still looks like I got to do a bit more tweaks here and there when it comes to getting the show set up. What's going on? What's up, everybody? It's your boy GXG. What does GXG stand for? Well, whatever you can find those two acronyms stand for together. It means a whole lot of things, right? Because I keep changing things up. This used to be just straight gaming, and random chatting. Now it's more of a news and politics stream as we focus on that. Anyways, for those of you who are watching here, I'm glad that you show up. Good for you. And for those of you who are watching the replay, thanks. You're amazing too. I wanted to get this underway before it gets a little bit too late for me. So, hey to all you guys out there. So you guys are going to be watching and all that. So this is going to be a political black pill special. Let me put the title up. So, what I'm going to do today, and I'm sure a lot of streamers have already done it, but I'm more unique, I gotta boast myself up a bit more. And plus, I've been under the weather lately, so that's why it hasn't been a chapter out this earlier. I need to adhere to that schedule, but I will do it. What's going on, guys? I don't know what it is. For some reason, I came down with the sniffles, and it is like, it just pisses me off. Let's see if this works. Yeah, this works too. I just came down with the sniffle, and it's really getting to me. Gaming ecstasy. I don't know for a second. Yeah, it's like, because starting this week, I was like, yeah, let's do this shit. Let's put out content like crazy. Then all of a sudden, I wake up Monday, and my nose is running. My allergies are kicking my ass, and I'm just like, oh great, this is just how life is structured, isn't it? Gaming and grief. Oh shit. Where's a good one? Oh, I need a better fucking sound effect for that. I'm just gonna use this. I don't know. Gaming ecstasy. I don't know for the second G. Yeah. It used to stand for gentleman gamer, if you can believe that. I was gonna do this whole little kayfabe thing where I dressed up in suits and played video games and talk about how terrible gamers are, but that avenue is probably wasn't best for an audience that I want to be. Yeah, it wasn't for the audience I was looking for, so it wasn't at all. And thanks for pointing out the title too at first too, Merle, because I was like, yeah, it does sound like I'm in a debate, but I wasn't in no damn debate. I mean, I wouldn't mind being in one or being like in a panel, going back and forth with someone, but that's neither here or there. I'm still trying to formulate my a constructive analysis when it comes to the usage and the place that debates have. I'm leaning more towards that. Sure, let's have it. Let's have the blood sports around there. It's just entertainment at the end of the day. It doesn't really reduce the act in itself when it comes to who is projecting the ideology that they're defending. That could be the positions could be terribly reduced to basically make a general perception of it devoid it from any substance. Don't you like how I use all those big words in tandem together? All right, so just Pounding around right now, just doing some warm up. It's not like gonna be like a normal political black pill, chapter where things are a bit more structured. We're gonna take a little bit laid back, even though this is still considered a black pill. So, what I want to do, and I don't know if you guys like this idea, is for those who are watching live and for those who are gonna watch it the replay and stuff like that. And again, I appreciate you watching the replay. You're amazing. If you do you have any like ideas for these chapters, I greatly appreciate it. Or just like shoot me up a Twitter DM or whatever. And also there's like this thing that I want to do where when I give out the information, I've noticed there's something missing, and that's the black pill portion of it. So what I'm going to do is after we finish or wrap things up before my positive message, I'm just gonna call it a black pill truth segment, right? And just go on either a rant or like a 2-3 minute rant or something like that, or just give a good summation of how all this is just bullshit at the end of the day, just to sum it up, the whole black pill portion of it. Not doom and gloom, but it may be doom and gloom. Shit, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend and promise things anymore. So how's everyone been doing? I hope you guys been doing fantastic. I've got some Diet Pepsi and some vodka in here. You shouldn't drink alcohol when you're sick, but I tend to do stupid shit too much. And it's freezing. What's going on, Ben? How you doing? Welcome. Glad that you're here. Pulled up like,
Surprise, motherfucker.
hey, why is that so low? Oh, it's just updated my stream deck. Everything's so low. Oh, let's see what we got here. Yeah, everything's so low. Even the ones I don't use as much. That's exciting. You're there giving you the sweat of your brow for your bourgeoisie overlords. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see if this works.
Surprise, motherfucker.
It works. Let's see. Oh yeah, we can't have that too low.
I'm just an average guy who read public documents where the elite said they were going to enslave us and destroy America. And I'm not going to be like yuppies come and deny the threat to my country. I'm going to fight back.
You know what's crazy? Okay. Man, they did really. That's something I should have paid attention to. That's insane. These motherfuckers really just lowered all the volume to my stuff.
Bruh.
Really? Give me a few seconds here. It shouldn't take too long. And don't be upset. We're not like, those who are watching are like, oh my god, just get to it, just react, react. For those of you watching the replay, you know what you can do. Skip on ahead. Don't worry, we're gonna be analytical and educational and yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. That's what we do here, okay? We're gonna hit big progressive dong, okay? Man, just take it easy. Sometimes you don't need information overload or drama overload. Sometimes you just need that moment just to relax and warm up to the streamer. Shit. They need to add better streaming functionality for Streamlabs. You know what? Wait. Port. Why ain't you working? Why ain't you working? I just realized that. All right. used to hop on when it's like was extremely late. When I used to do those like 3 a.m. streams. Why ain't you working? I don't like the song. Okay. Yeah, I need to up my stream game, man. Sometimes I just don't think the universe likes me. My hours change, so I have to wake up at 3:30 p.m. or a.m. It's dope if you get your mornings. For me, working at night, the late night shifts is always good to me. I always kind of enjoyed that. AM, but now I wake up later. Got you. Yeah, I always enjoyed the late night shifts. I don't know what it is. I haven't streamed in like 3 months, I think. Better get back on it. The horse is sitting there starving. Get back on that. If that's what you really want to do. I know some people like just said, you know what, this is just not for me, or just burnt out for it. You get burnt out by it. It's a serious grind. Your job starts at 7 a.m. instead of 5. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Now you got some time to rest. Remember, Pork, you were always tired. You was always super tired. All right. So you guys, well, we can burn the candle a little bit longer. It's not that late into it. So I'm not gonna like if it gets too dry, we're not gonna stick around. That's the thing. We're gonna be like when we do these debates. There's only 2 right now, and I'm trying to see if I can hop back and forth between the 2. One is still happening, and that's the Arizona senatorial debate, and the other one's the gubernatorial. Is that how you say it, right? Gubernatorial? I don't know why it's pronounced that way. Anyway, debate in between governors, or not governors, but O'Rourke and Abbott in Texas. That's the other one too. And I heard that one was basically a shit show. And also, if I'm swearing too much, guys, try to push me back. Okay, we're trying to get monetized on YouTube. If that's ever gonna happen, amazing. But if it doesn't happen this year, that's all good. You know what I'm saying? I'm still treating this like a hobby, so once I start treating it like real work, we'll get there. Really happy there's federal pardons of weed charges. Waiting to see if they actually water it down. Also, they still need to decriminalize it. I agree, Proto Zero. Hey, welcome back. Wait. Did you say the fallout from the Tory Gibbs mini budget? No, I didn't see that. I stream when I feel like it's something new and important to say that no one is talking about. Here's the thing, Ben. Here's the thing about that. That's not ever gonna happen. There's millions of people streaming in multiple different languages. The biggest thing is, even if you're talking about something that someone else is talking about, what makes your voice and perspective unique in comparison to theirs? And that's when you hit the nail on the head. That's where you find where you can amplify topics to a greater extent than most other people do. This is why I took it my direction from my streams, instead of focusing too much on like reactionary style politics or like React Andy type nonsense, or in my case, React Tyrone. There's a black his Afro-Hispanic black streamer, whatever one label he has. That's why I took my perspective and my content and made it more constructive. Because looking at everyone else's, it's just like, it's kind of like when you can, if you like, since you're a content creator, and all the content creators can realize this, some other content creators, as big as they are, it sometimes look like they're just playing darts in a pitch black room, right? And when the light goes on, most of the dartboard is already missed. Most of the points that they're trying to hammer home is missed. You could tell that by the way that their chat is going and the different types of things they're trying to devolve into. The more constructive things. We're playing darts in a light up board right now. Even though that's a slower burn in terms of like bringing in prospective people to enjoy your content creation, they can not only enjoy it but respect what you're trying to do. right? Because they see that you're trying to put in some research, you're trying to make it entertaining as possible. So, when they come in, they know what they're exactly coming for. And sometimes we'll just, jump off the deep end because that's some fun, What are we doing here? What's this? What is this you sent me, Muro? What is this Trojan horse? Oh, is this the marijuana thing? I think I updated my stream enough. Let's see, it would be this one. And I like I'm enjoying the like simple transitions in comparison to the other one that kind of lags a bit. Even though those are cool, but I just want to get us into it, Tomorrow just sent us this. A senior administration official said that over 6,500 U.S. citizens from 1992, hey, let's go, 92 baby, okay, 2021 were convicted of simple possession of marijuana under federal law, and thousands more were convicted under a Washington D.C. code. There are currently no individuals in federal prison solely for simple possession of marijuana, and most marijuana possession convictions occur at the state level, official says. That's very interesting. I don't know. Brandon's been on a roll lately, so I can't really say that. I can't really, really like hammer home. I don't know. Brandon's been on a roll lately. He's noticing that most of the other Democrats are failing in terms of their messaging and what they want to concrete push into the population as their positions, and they can see that the cultural shift is very ambiguous now. At first I was like, oh yeah, most of the country now is leaning farther to the right. Now I can't even say it myself. I don't know where people stand at culturally or societally. I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult to gauge. It seems like there's been a massive silence from the American population, right? I'm guessing that was a burnout because it was a burnout as a result of the Trump administration, culturally, societally. You're looking for a macro perspective. You notice most Americans don't even want nothing to do with politics anymore. That could explain why a lot of these concentrated subjects in different content platforms like YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, and all the other stuff. There's not really that much viewership when it comes to politics now. People just want to turn off their brain and do drama and other stuff like that. Unnecessary drama. If your channel is just dedicated to just drama, you always have work, right? I like your browser aesthetics. Appreciate it. Wait. My Firefox one? The government, Tory's government mini budget, essentially, big. Let me say this is being recorded. Big Ben wrote, Tory's government mini budget, essentially, the government is cutting taxes but not spending it, and it sent the value of the pound and UK Treasury bond into free fall, and the government is fighting back, claiming they will not be dissuaded by woke liberal markets. Okay, so I'm very confused in terms of what is the especially in the Western world. And it's because I'm seeing all types of commentary on most news that comes out. But for me, it's I think this is better, right? Yeah. For me, the biggest thing, it's when we have a kind of a concentrated right-leaning government. This is not just talking about the United States. And most of the population are either silent or moderate in their positions in terms of the vocalization of their positions when it comes to that. And this is why I can't put my finger on it, on where the midterms are gonna go anymore. And for me, it just seems like more of a toss-up. It's just what it feels like, and I try to say this loosely when it comes to my speculation in politics, but it feels like it feels like whatever's gonna happen between the middle of this month up until like midterms, like if anything like large happens, and I'm guessing this is why Biden right now is doing all these like, I'm gonna decriminalize, I'm going to pardon all these Americans for weed, I'm going to try to forgive student loans. It's kind of seemed like he's taking up the lion share of the push for the American people to be like, I'm just going to show up and vote Democrat and go home, you know. But I'm very curious, and of course we're going to cover the midterms and the election results from that here. Of course, news and politics, right? I need to do a little bit more news that are outside of politics, but politics is what you guys enjoy to, you know, flavor your teeth, if that makes sense. Anyways, so with that being said and out the way, let's hop into the first debate. And oh boy, girl, they, them, zer. Is that right? Let's do it like this. I think this is better. So yeah, let's do it like this. I think I want to do first cam, because then you can see how my face react to some things. But this was an overall this show, from what I've heard, and this is also a live react as well. So let's sit back and enjoy the show. If even look, I mean, this is like interactive as hell. This is more interactive. If you guys want to dive into something a little bit different in between, we could do that. All right, because this is an hour long, basically 57 minutes. Ugh. All right, let's get to it.
Incumbent Greg Abbott.
He wants to go take your guns and deny you your Second Amendment rights. We will not let that happen.
Challenger Bedo O'Rourke.
An abortion ban with no exception for rape or incest, that is not us. That may be Greg Abbott.
Now, in their only debate before Election Day, we go after answers on the issues you care about most. Immigration, abortion rights, gun violence, and how far we'll go to protect our children at school. Tonight, the heat is on in South.
Black pill moment. They're not going to do anything. Okay. As much as you guys think that something's going to actually fundamentally change in this country, you can't. Right? You're going to have inklings of what it seems to be a perceived change, but in actuality, it's all smoke and mirrors. You know, you're just going to get, you know, a padding, small dressing of the wound, you could say, instead of treating the infection from the source or the problem from the root that most people will say, right?
Texas, live from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley.
Is that loud?
The Texas Governor's Debate
do your thing, man.
starts right now.
We are coming to you live from the Performing Arts Center at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley in Edinburgh for the Texas Governor's Debate. And we are so happy that you're joining us tonight. I am your host, Britt Moreno, anchor at...
They're playing games. No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
I am not gay.
No, they didn't.
I have relationships with women.
KXAN in Austin.
They're playing.
This debate is airing live from El Paso to Tyler.
Hey,
and from
we might have to
Amarillo
visit Texas.
Brownsville. Carried by 14 Nexstar Media
We
Group
might have to visit
stations
Texas
in Texas,
sometimes.
as well as 5 partner TV stations. And we want y'all to join in the conversation on social media. Use the hashtag TXGovDebate. You'll see it there at the bottom of your screen. You're all here to watch these two men share their vision for the state of Texas. Asking the questions tonight are panelists. From KSAT in San Antonio, anchor Steve Spriester. My colleague at KXAN, anchor Sally Hernandez. And from the Dallas Morning News, political writer Gromer Jeffers. Candidates, let's briefly go over the rules for...
All right, just 5 more seconds, okay? Just 5 more seconds. I didn't know they made them like that in Texas.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
All right, enough Coomer stuff, okay?
Tonight, each candidate will have 60 seconds for each question. If there are follow-ups, candidates will then have 30 seconds, and there will be up to 30 seconds allowed At the end of the debate, each candidate will have 30 seconds for closing statements, and when your time is up, you're going to hear this bell. And with that, let's get started. I'm going to send it over to my colleague Sally with the first question.
Britt, thank you. And again, thank you both for being here tonight. I can tell it's going to be an exciting night. Got a lot of questions to ask you both, but I just want to remind you, please pay attention to the time cues. This way, you're not talking over each other and I don't have to interrupt
She gives off the Guilfoyle vibes, you know?
you and our viewers.
Oh, you missed it, Merle. You missed it.
Let's get to it.
Dang,
Immigration.
You find that in your state?
Relevant here in the Rio Grande Valley.
I love it.
For years, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has ranked it as the #1 area for migrants crossing illegally along the entire southwestern border. Many communities here have suffered enormous monetary costs. Governor Abbott, let's start with you, and you have 60 seconds with this question. What would you do to alleviate the financial burden placed on these communities?
We've been working to respond to the disaster caused by the Biden administration that has caused such an economic burden on these communities. Farms and ranches are run over, communities are disrupted, homes that are invaded. Remember this, just 2 years ago, we had one of the safest borders in decades, but under the Biden administration, we have more people coming across the border than ever in the history of our country. Texas has responded by making sure that we have the National Guard and DPS deployed where they're making arrests and turning back. But what we're doing, we are keeping our community safe, and this is completely different than the way things would be under Beto, because he said months ago.
Whoa. Just say Bedo. All right. You don't need to see Bet. You don't need to say Beto. Okay. We don't need to do that. Okay. We know this is a white dude. All right. You don't need to do that. Jesus Christ. It's only what? 3 minutes in, 60 seconds in, and we're already throwing in those, okay? And where is this about immigration destroying farms and families? Where is that at? Where's the article? Where's the news article for that? I need to see that. Is this what really is going down in Texas?
There is no problem on the border. He said that he would reduce immigration enforcement. He even said that 95% of people come across the border illegally, he would allow to stay.
Okay, Mr. O'Rourke, I want to give you a chance to respond. And let me just repeat the question first for our viewers and for you.
No.
What would you do to alleviate the financial burden placed on border communities related to migrants crossing over? 60 seconds, please.
What we just heard from the governor is what we are likely to hear over the course of this debate. He's going to blame people like President Biden. He's going to try to lie about my record, and he's going to distract from his failures, whether it's his failure to keep the lights on in the grid, his failure to address school shootings, or his failure in immigration. We are 8 years into his time as governor, and this is what we have on our border. In fact, $4 billion into Operation Lone Star. We're seeing not fewer, but more encounters at our border right now. What we need is a safe, legal, orderly path for anyone who wants to come here to work, to join family, or to seek asylum. If you come to this country, we expect you to follow the law. But on our side, we're going to make sure that our laws reflect our values and our interests. And I'm going to work with local leaders, Republicans and Democrats alike, to make sure that we have a Texas-based guest worker program to alleviate shortages that we have in our state for labor demands and reduce inflation and address supply chain issues as well.
Thank you. Governor Abbott, you just heard your...
I can see where the shit show's coming from. It doesn't seem like there's enough time for them to answer the questions fully, but then again, it's just, people who are going to lie to you anyway, so why hear so much of the lie where you can hear just a little bit of it? And it's going to carry on from there.
Operation Lone Star, and I have a follow-up question about that. About $4 billion in state funds has been directed to the Operation Lone Star Border Security Initiative. The program has seen its funding increase as recently as this past July. So the question, Governor, in 30 seconds if you can to answer this, should more money be allocated towards Operation Lone Star? And if so, Governor, how much?
Well, candidly, we shouldn't have to allocate any money for it, because this is all because of Joe Biden's failure to do the president's job to secure the border. We're only having to do that because of Joe Biden's failure and because it would be the same pathway that Beto would take us down. Speaking of which, he talked about this guest worker program. He could have done that had he won the race for the Senate or won the race for president. That's not a job for governor. The job of governor is have to deal with the chaos caused by the Biden administration and its open border policies that Beto would replicate.
What we have is chaos thanks to Governor Abbott right now.
Okay, let me give you 15 seconds to answer the question for me.
15 seconds? Jesus. 15 seconds? Dang, this is going on terribly. I wonder what the hell's going on in Arizona. Maybe let's get a little bit more, a few more minutes into this. I'm a little bit dry, but you know.
How much money should be?
The one dude left out. Actually, what's this? The one dude let off. Murrow said the one dude let off a terrible question to Bedo, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Okay.
Operation Lone Star.
And I'm telling you, $0 should be going to Operation Lone Star, and that's what it would be if we had a president who was enforcing the immigration laws of the United States of America.
Mr. O'Rourke, I want to go over to you. 30 seconds for this question. It's the same one. Should more money be allocated towards Operation Lone Star?
No, it's clearly failed. The numbers are in. We're seeing not fewer but more engagements at our border. When the governor spent $4 billion of our tax dollars on what has turned out to be political theater for his political career, he promised us that it would deter people from coming to this country. We've only seen more people come. Now they get a bus ride to Chicago or Washington, D.C. or New York. We don't need any more stunts. We need solutions. We need those coming here to follow our laws. We need to make sure our laws follow our values.
Thank you, Mr.
Respond to that, please?
I'll give you 15 seconds, Governor.
Sure. So these are efforts to protect our state. There is a record amount of fentanyl coming across the border. This deadly. Texas law enforcement has seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the entire country. And this is because of Joe Biden's
Thank you,
policies.
Governor Abbott.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm just like, I don't know. Like, okay, I'm hanging in there. We're only 7 minutes in, and I'm already like ready to just. Okay, Jesus.
I assure you, we have a lot of questions, a lot of topics to get to, and Steve has the next one.
Thank you, Sally. And
I know. Get play. Get the play.
Mr. O'Rourke,
shut up,
continue
JXG.
with the immigration topic now. You've criticized the deployment of National Guard troops to the border. Here's a clip of you speaking at a March rally in College Station.
Nice.
Our Guard members from Texas A&M who are on the border right now in Zapata and Webb and Hidalgo counties to go be part.
We're a massive L for all this nonsense. You know, I kind of when Bernie was running too, I kind of did this like the thing too out there. But at this point, when I'm gonna show up to I'm gonna show up to some political rallies or whatever. And I ain't about to show up all cucked up, bruv. I can't do that. That's just no. I can't do that anymore, bruv. Wear what I want to wear. Then there was one when I was like, Murrow said, I think there was one that was like, you run for Senate, president, and now governor. What exactly is the deal here, Bedo? He keeps losing. How does that? I just keep losing, bruv. Simple. I ain't big man things. I just lose, you know?
Oh, Jesus.
Like, I don't even like Bedo. What the fuck was that question? Tell me about it.
Of a solution.
Maybe there's a little bit later on down, right?
Of a problem.
A solution in search of a problem. More recently, you told the Houston Chronicle that you will put some troops on the border as governor. In 60 seconds, can you explain why your view on deploying troops has seemingly changed when it comes to the border?
It hasn't. I've actually been to Zapata and Webb and Maverick counties and listened to these members of the Guard who had less than a week to say goodbye to their families and to their careers and to their communities to be part of the governor's political theater. Those aren't my words. Those are their words. So far, we've lost the lives of 8 Guard members. 4 of them have taken their lives, and 4 of them have died in questionable circumstances, none of whom, by the way, was killed by anybody coming in to this country. These Guard members say they have no powers to arrest or detain anybody. 10,000 Guard members, $4 billion, and it's been a complete failure, much as everything that the governor has done has been a failure for this state. What we need are solutions, not more stunts. Where we can have a strategic deployment on a voluntary basis for Guard members, let's do that. I've been consistent on that. Where we can partner with local sheriffs, with DPS troopers, let's do that. But we need to work on things like a Texas-based guest worker program to meet labor needs in our communities and ensure that our laws match our values.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. Governor, I want to talk to you. You talked about migrants and the busing of migrants. Many migrant advocates and Democratic elected officials have expressed concerns about the treatment of migrants being bused from Texas to other states and cities.
And this is just basically another political stunt with the usage of live folks, you know, trafficking them to different areas and sections. And I think this was a brainchild of DeSantis, and where, you know, they'll take on undocumented migrants, place them in sanctuary cities, and then blame the Democratic leadership there to say that, oh, you know, you see what you guys, you know, you guys wanted all these people here in your sanctuary cities, and look at all the crime and all the stuff that's happening around it, even if the crime was basically not a part or had nothing to do with the migrants being moving towards there. But that should be something that should be seriously investigated, because at this point, it's going to get even more wild, right? And what happened to the concentration camps? Did that just die out in the media cycle? What's going on? There's still people there, right? That was this meme.
New York Mayor Eric Adams talking about that just last week.
And when we reached out to Governor Abbott and stated, can we coordinate? Can we identify, you know, who's traveling here, that we don't have to guess this? They refused to do so.
The White House has called this a political stunt. Governor Abbott, is this a political stunt?
Oh, that's hilarious.
And has there been coordination with the states and cities these migrants are being taken to?
Well, we'll hop into the Arizona debate. We're gonna hop into them.
So this operation began after meeting with local officials, sheriffs, mayors, police chiefs, and county judges, where they were overrun with the number of migrants that Border Patrol had dumped into their tiny little communities. They needed relief, and busing was one of the ways of providing them relief, and thus began the process of busing the migrants to cities that self-identified as sanctuary cities. Mayor Adams has never called my office, never talked to anybody in my administration, and so what he's saying is just flat out false. There has been communication between non-governmental organizations in Texas, as well as the ultimate location, whether it be Washington, D.C. or New York. But going back to what Beto said,
here's the funny thing. Merle said that do they really think people like dudes in suits are fucking astronauts, and in suits over fucking astronauts? Well, yeah, because there is and you know this too. There is I keep getting my camera angles wrong. I apologize for that. There's this conception, this archetype of a man that a lot of the right people who lean right or generally lean towards conservative. There is this archetype or this characteristics of let's see, not a man's man per se, but something they perceive as a man of status or importance, and that's what a man donned in a suit is. It's, you know, specifically basically that's what it is, right? And this suit represents a level of importance. When we all know that most of the people really on top, they can care less of what they put on, right? You know, the billionaire ownership class of this other society, they don't really care, you know, what they wear. They'll put on a dirty polo and some jeans and still walk into the office. Can't nobody say nothing to them. But this, you know. And it seems like that mold is kind of breaking, that characteristic, that caricature of like a man of status, right? And don't get me wrong, I don't mind a good suit, you know, donning in a good suit. But I'd rather take an astronaut over that all day long, you know, because that's actually a space suit. That was so stupid. Oh my God, what the fuck? That was so dumb. Let's just get back to the debate. Jesus Christ.
What you showed on video earlier, Jobs and the Green New Deal, he's flip-flopped on defunding the police. Whether it's one issue or another, he keeps changing positions.
I want to be clear, though. You say that Mayor Adams has never called your office.
Correct.
Thank you. Mr. O'Rourke, I want to follow up on this. You've called the busing of migrants a political stunt as well. Why shouldn't sanctuary cities share the burden of what's happening on the Texas border? You have 30 seconds.
Look, I live on the border. No one cares more about the security and safety of the border than those who are raising our children there. I also serve as a...
Oh, Jesus.
May Allah awaken the people and...
This dude don't give a fuck about them.
cities in the United States of America. It's because we were looking at solutions instead of these stunts. I just want to remind everyone, this guy's been governor for engagement, encounters, fentanyl trafficking, and human smuggling that we've seen. That's the result of stunts instead of solutions.
Stick to the time, please. Thank you.
Steve, I got to respond to what he just said.
Absolutely. I'll give you 15 seconds.
He mentioned El Paso. The fact of the matter is the El Paso mayor, a Democrat, the El Paso City Council, Democrats, they are now busing more people than the state of Texas is busing. And he's not calling them out for them busing people to other regions.
Different program. It is apples to oranges. And I'll tell you, This hateful rhetoric, this treating human beings as political pawns, talking about invasions in Texas, Texans defending themselves, that's how people get killed at the Walmart in El Paso, the gentleman in Hudspeth that we just learned about yesterday. This is incredibly dangerous for Texas and is not reflective of our values.
Okay, Governor, I want to give you 30 seconds to respond to those charges.
Sure. I mean, it's clear that Beto just wants to perpetuate the open border policy is to mischaracterize exactly what's going on. He refuses to acknowledge that the city of El Paso, because they are so overwhelmed.
Sometimes I get wrapped up in what's going on. I forget that we got to pause and talk about it too for the whole fair use. I know it's YouTube. I know it's YouTube.
Damage.
It's YouTube. You know, we got to be fair. We got to be fair and critique of what's going on here. Okay, I'm gonna give this probably like a 1 more minute run, and we're gonna hop over to Arizona.
By Joe Biden's open border policies, they too are having to bust migrants out of their communities because they have no way of keeping them there. That's what we're trying to do to help our local communities and make sure that we're going to lighten the load.
No one is for open borders, not the least of us who actually live on the borders. This is the kind of stunt that you get from Greg Abbott. We need solutions right now.
I want to go to a follow-up for you, Governor Abbott,
Sure.
and it's on the busing question. These migrants are being sent to states and cities with Democratic leadership. Why aren't these migrants being sent to so-called sanctuary cities in Republican-led states like New Orleans or Metro Atlanta?
It's a good one.
30 seconds.
So again, because these cities of New York and Washington, D.C. and Chicago are so large and have the infrastructure that's available, they have the capability of accommodating the number of migrants that are being sent better than these other cities that you talked about. There will be other cities in the future that also will be on the receiving end of migrants, because we will continue to have to move migrants because Joe Biden continues to allow more illegal immigrants to come into the state of Texas.
Thank you, Governor. My colleague Gromer Jeffers has the next question.
Thank you, Steve, and hello, gentlemen. Good to see you both.
You too, Gromer.
Let's pivot now to the topic of gun control. Following the Uvalde massacre.
Okay, we're gonna get to that, but let's hop into Arizona real quick. And before we do so, there's also like a live chat when that happened. Let me take a brief intermission, okay? All right, don't go nowhere. All right, let me keep this up. Be right back. Thank you for the brief hold. We'll get there. I know. It's chair strains in this mug, right? All right. Now, let's head over to Arizona. In the beginning of this, hopefully I won't get bored out of my mind like I am about this Texas one, but maybe it'll pick up. Maybe.
Like on the border, I call them out on it because I'm always going to stick up for Arizona.
What's up with this?
Blake Masters, my opponent, on the other hand, has some beliefs that are...
Ever since Obama started doing this gesture here, this, every fucking politician does this gesture, this hand gesture. Every time they talk, it's like they gotta do this, like they're giving an indiscreet thumbs up. It's so fucking annoying. Leave that mess in 2008, okay? Leave it in 2008. It's not too large.
Just dangerous for Arizonans. He celebrated when Arizona enacted an abortion ban. And he wants to privatize your Social Security, sending your savings to Wall Street. So, Ted, this is an important conversation.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's get things started. Senator, we'll start with you. Inflation is at generational highs, could be going even higher considering OPEC's actions here this week regarding the crude production. Why are consumer prices so high? What have you done to address this issue?
Yeah, first of all, Ted, let me start by saying, as a kid, I remember my mom sitting at the kitchen table, with all the bills spread out with one of those giant calculators, trying to figure out, what bill is she going to pay? And it was really challenging for her. In that period of time, she could only put about $2 of gas in the car, at the time. So I know what people are going through, and I know it's hard. That's why I've worked to cut costs. Hey, when the Biden administration refused to increase oil and gas production, I told him he was wrong. And when prescription drugs are just skyrocketed and seniors can't afford it, I stood up to big pharma to cut costs. Now, my opponent, Blake Masters, the issue we have here is...
who's the third guy? Well, they straight ignoring the third guy. Who's the third guy?
That this issue affects seniors more than anybody else, seniors that are on a fixed income. And my opponent, he wants to privatize Social Security. He said private accounts sending your earnings to Wall Street. I met this older gentleman in Parker not too long ago.
My fault.
And he came up to me and he said, hey, please do not take away my Social Security. I don't know what I will do. For however long I'm in the United States Senate, I'm going to protect your Social Security and Medicare. My opponent said he wants to cut the knot and privatize your Social Security, sending your hard-earned dollars to Wall Street.
Blake Masters, 90 seconds. We're talking inflation here. Why is inflation? Why are consumer prices so high, and what would you do about it?
Let's be clear. The greatest threat to seniors' retirement today is the massive, crushing inflation that Joe Biden and Mark Kelly caused. And it's their fault. They caused it. 2 years ago, inflation was 1.5%.
What?
Now, in the greater Phoenix metro area, we are suffering from literally the worst inflation in the nation at 13%. Joe
Really?
Biden's policies caused this, and those are policies that Mark Kelly in Washington has supported every single time. So look, first, they declared war on oil and gas. Well,
okay, so this is something, right? This is just something I want to hit home a bit, because it kind of outrages. It outrages me. It's outrageous. It pisses me off a bit, and I'm a bit curious about this, right? So, okay, what the fuck is this? So, Joe Biden, the Democrats, right? They're getting a lot of flack about what's going on in terms of the economy, right? Inflation. Of course, our economy looks like it's going on an even worse downturn than before. The recession, it's already here. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, let me turn this music off. But I always wondered, they're placing blame on Biden. And Biden do hold now a massive blame of what's going on economically. But isn't the reason why we are here in the first place? It's because of how we responded to the pandemic under the Republican administration of Donald Trump, right? Isn't it that we were so wish-washy in terms of, are we going to lock down or are we not? Then we end up locking down. This all started under the Trump administration. Our inability and our ineffectualness to basically collectivize our country in tackling on this pandemic. And then a lot of the bad faith actors out there who resultantly got a lot of their viewership deleted because of their ignorance and their the misinformation that was spread from that, right, from their platforms and whatnot, to a larger degree, right? Wasn't that all a combination of what's going on? And also at the root of our current economic structure, it's based upon Keynesian economics and free market capitalism. This is something that was basically likely to happen and due to happen. So all this is just combined into a gigantic clusterfuck to show that if we keep living by the same rules that we do today, with the small changes or not, we're going to end up in the same situation that we were in before. Like, just make that make sense to me, right? But now it's become a political football about where the economy is at, that they just keep kicking back and forth. And this is us watching like this, like that. But in actuality, the whole system is at fault. The whole structure is at fault. Am I incorrect here in asserting this? Because, we keep, I keep hearing it's all the Biden administration's fault for what's going on with inflation. The recession was looming. And then I think back to what happened to the Obama administration and the things he had to pick up from 2008. And then basically it's been almost, I don't know how to say this correctly. Like a mirror image, not a mirror image, a rerun of what happened in 2008. It seems like that. People are speculating it's even worse. And of course, every single crash is going to come, future crashes are going to come, right? They're speculating it's just going to end up getting worse and worse and worse. And when are the American people going to feel the breaking point from that? I don't know. It's just me just throwing out curious thoughts, just ranting and rambling out off what's going on through my big head. Okay, but let's get back to this debate. Let's close this up a little bit so we can be a bit more transformative, and let's do it.
What they think was going to happen?
Just curious.
When you declare war on oil and gas in a country that is still mostly powered by oil and gas, you think that's going to send the price of energy to the moon? Well, yeah, it did. They took gas from $2 to $6. Now they want a prize because it's back in the $5. No, when you make energy too expensive, well, everything you need to live takes energy to make or to move. You make energy expensive, you get some inflation. That was the left hook. Well, the Democrats weren't done. Then they decided to print $6 trillion. They print and spent $6 trillion too quickly. The normal person understands this. PhD economists don't, apparently. Senators don't. But when you print $1 trillion, that makes every dollar in your wallet worth less and less. It sends prices at the supermarket skyrocketing. So no, they caused this crushing inflation, and it is ruining people's lives. I had parents come up to me 2 weeks ago at a campaign event. They said, Blake, we don't eat breakfast anymore. We drink coffee. We drink coffee so that we can afford to feed our kids breakfast. And that's on you, sir. This is the Joe Biden, Mark Kelly economy. I will put a stop to Joe Biden's crazy spending.
Mark Victor, 90 seconds. Inflation, what's going on?
Look, people are hurt.
In place of what? That's the thing. Like, they keep saying that in place of what? Because of the structure of our economy. It's almost it's a necessity now that we have to overspend just to leverage what little we have left in our own I don't know, the way it's set up, right? It seems like this is always the case, right? We get to this point with near a crash, or we get to a catastrophe, a national catastrophe like the pandemic, and we're finding ourselves having to keep writing blank checks to large businesses and wealthier Americans out there, and build these larger safety net programs, and then we just dig ourselves into a deeper and deeper hole, right? But the funny thing is, most of the credit that the money that we spend and we attribute to what's going on in this recession in this economy is money that we owe ourselves. And that's just the weird structure of how things are set up here in this country. I don't know. Maybe people who are more economically literate can chime in and explain why all these issues seem to be more and more exacerbated every so decade from 2000 up to now. Like, I don't know.
Right
I
now,
know you pay attention to the debate.
Inflation hurts the poor the worst. It's a tax on everything.
Who's this guy?
Why is this happening? It's happening because of both the Republicans and the Democrats. It's their
No shade, because people are gonna pull up my stream and be like, "Who's this guy?" But I genuinely want to know who this guy is. Someone help.
economic policies. Look, don't confuse money with wealth. They're not the same thing. Wealth, that's what's produced and what's consumed. Printing and distributing money doesn't make us richer. Doubling the money supply doesn't make us twice as rich. Printing money results in more dollars to buy the same amount of goods, and that's what raises prices. Both the Republicans and the Democrats, both of them have been recklessly printing money. It's not just this administration. It's Bush, it's Obama, it's Trump, it's Biden. They have all increased spending. They have all increased the debt. The Republicans just had control of everything. They increased spending, they increased the debt. This has been exacerbated, by the way, by forced business closings during COVID. These are...
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. All right, someone tell me who this guy is. Stop fucking around, all right? Stop, wake up. He literally just said everything I just said. He's a political black pill watcher. He's a GXG watcher. Based in black pilled.
probably unconstitutional, but they messed up our supply chain and it contracted the number of goods. When you print more money and throw it in the economy and you reduce the supply of goods, what you get is out of control inflation. And no, you can't just pass more spending and call it the Inflation Reduction Act and think you are going to fix inflation. You know what fixes this? Free markets. That's what raises standards of living.
Jesus, bruh. Way to miss the layup. Way to miss the fucking layup. Ah, this country, man. To sustain the free market structure, we also have to socialize it at the same time. So all the things that we did to keep the free market open, I guess, right, from these large amount of spending, it pushes us to this endless cyclical notion of boom and bust cycles. You know, this endless cavalcade of catastrophe after catastrophe has just been plucked and pruned for more political gain, more power, more of a power grab for those in our society who've already reached the finish line, past the finish line. They're running their own race at this point, and we're just watching from the sidelines, beaten and battered, as anorexic spectators to what's going to go on in the economy. So so at this point, I mean, we have really no say so. I don't care if you make six figures at this point. You really have no say so no matter what's going on in your country, as much as you like to think that you do. Now, more than ever, only a few hands get to dictate or influence what actually goes on, right? And those few hands are just the lucky few, you know, because there's a multitude of larger, more established corporate entities that actually, you know, pushes what they want to, pushes their interests, basically. Are we even talking about this debate? Just having fun here, I guess.
We need to cut taxes. We need to cut spending. We need to cut regulation. We are stealing from future generations. It's obscene, it's immoral, and it needs to stop.
All right, Mark, thank you very much.
Libertarian candidate.
Mark Kelly, it sounds as if 45 seconds now for rebuttal from what you've heard. I heard that you caused this.
Well, 2.5 years ago, we went through something unprecedented. You know, COVID-19. Schools had to shut down. Businesses shut down. Across Arizona, we have 500,000 small businesses. sometimes the federal government has to step in to save small business.
Why?
They have to step in to protect livelihoods.
Why?
My office, folks that work for me, we're very active in helping small businesses like Slate Chase Cafe in Phoenix stay open, or Naughton's in Tucson. We've got to get our debt and deficit under control. That's why in the Inflation Reduction Act reduces the deficit by hundreds of billions of dollars. At the same time, I was able to stand up to Big Pharma and cut the prescription drug costs for seniors, capping it at $2,000 a year, spread out over the year. This is something my opponent, Blake Masters, has opposed. Seniors are struggling. Social Security and prescription drugs hits them harder than anybody else.
Okay.
And my opponent, Blake Masters, wants to privatize their Social Security, sending that money to what?
We got 45 seconds here. The idea of printing money, you mentioned that. Was money? Did we not need money to be printed, considering the COVID pandemic that we were dealing with? That's what I'm hearing here.
Joe Biden is spending like a drunken sailor, and at every single opportunity, Mark Kelly just says yes. He can't say no.
Oh my God. Did YouTube did what I think it did? No shot. No shot, YouTube. Are you serious right now? Oh my God. Give me a second, guys. Jesus Christ, man. This gets on my nerves. YouTube gets on my nerves. What are you doing, brother?
Really? Just lowered all the volume?
Jesus Christ, YouTube.
What you showed on video earlier was what happens.
I can't stand this shit, dude. Give me a second, see if this works. It's all good. All right, I'm just gonna upload the stream to YouTube itself. I can't stand this stuff, man. Sometimes I don't know why YouTube just decided just to cut it off. Maybe because there was like a massive influx of copyright claims coming from the station itself. They don't want, people coming in and, I don't know, commenting on their videos and stuff like that. They just want all the juiciness to themselves. Even though I was, trying to be as transformative as possible. It's just the nature of YouTube. Just so dumb. Just so dumb. So we're just gonna have fun here. God damn, man. I can see why. I took a break from YouTube for a while. Lord have fucking mercy. What in the hell? Just drop my shit. Just drop my shit just like that. I wonder what the issue was.
What's up, everyone? It's GXG. Some of you may be asking, where the hell have I been?
Shut up.
What's up?
I can't stand YouTube, man. I can't stand it just sometimes. It's just so this is just horrible. All right, let me just let me fix this up real quick. I'm just gonna put that into private. Oh, stupid. Anyways, let's continue.
No to Chuck Schumer. He can't say no to Joe Biden. At least Senator Sinema stopped Build Back Better. My gosh, you were ready to vote for that. That would have just ruined our economy even worse. I know Senator Sinema caved on the Inflation Reduction Act, and I'm mad at her for that. But hey, isn't it interesting that you had to wonder which way she was going to vote? You never have to wonder which way Senator Kelly is going to vote, because any spending bill that Biden puts in front of him, he will sign. So yeah, we got the Inflation Reduction Act, and Mark Kelly was the deciding vote. He hired 87,000 new IRS agents. Mark Kelly voted to send stimulus checks.
And okay, so it led to more jobs is what you're trying to say. Oh my God, these talking points are just so tiresome.
To illegal aliens. He voted to send stimulus checks to, get this, violent felons sitting in jail. Is that a good use of taxpayer money? I don't think so. Think about that the next time you go to the grocery store and you can't afford to buy steak or eggs.
What do you think about that, Trump?
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
There you go.
Let me get a quick response to that.
Yeah, that's not true.
Which part?
Well, and a lot of it, but the IRS part, we need folks in government to go after big businesses and the wealthiest Americans who try to cheat on their taxes, that have armies of accountants and lawyers. That's the intention, here, because if we can't collect taxes from the wealthiest Americans and the largest corporations that are cheating on their taxes, you know who pays? Middle-class Americans pay.
He said it himself. He wants 87,000 IRS agents.
Hold on for just a second.
You're going to get a second.
Hold on.
So relax. So, what he is proposing is a system that, the little guy has to pay more. Middle-class Americans and working-class Americans. We need to make sure that big business, and it's pretty obvious when you look at the background of each of us.
Okay.
With regards to things like, ethics reform and corporate PAC money. I've never taken $1 of corporate PAC money my entire time in the last campaign and in office. So I'm never going to be standing up for big businesses. I'm going to be standing up for Arizona.
We need to stop you right there. All right. Again, respond.
Can I have 45?
Yes, you do.
The people of Arizona know that those 87,000 IRS agents that you're sicking on them, they're not just going after billionaires. They're not just going after big business. They're going to be auditing you. They're going to be auditing your small businesses this time next year. Senator Kelly voted for 80.
And what do you have to hide? You took the risk, you took the capital, and you decided that I'm going to do a small business. So what is that? A mom and pop shop who's being ethical and moral and following the laws and regulations, nothing to worry about, right? What's up, Uncle Nano? Hey, what's up? What's up? Sorry about that. What's up? What's up? Well, since we're not on YouTube right now, we can be a bit more vulgar because Twitch allows that, right? Hot tub streams, right?
7,000 new IRS agents in the Inflation Reduction Act. But to do that, first he had to reject, there was an amendment, he rejected hiring 18,000 more Border Patrol agents. Mark Kelly said no to 18,000 more Border Patrol agents, but yes to 87,000 new IRS agents. That shows you what his priorities are. Mark Kelly left our southern border wide open, voted for all the trillions in spending that caused this massive inflation, and he thinks the fix is 87,000 new IRS agents. Something tells me that's not going to work out.
I want to get Mark in here for a second, then I want to get back to you.
Thank you, Ted. You know, I want to speak up on behalf of the drunken sailor because
Wait, you want to what? Hold on. Rewind that. That's like the perfect libertarian starting point. That's the perfect libertarian starting point.
Tells me.
I want to speak up
I want to get Mark in here for a second. Then I want to get back to you.
Thank you, Ted. You know, I want to speak up on behalf of the drunken sailor.
I don't know why that's so funny to me. I don't know why that's so funny. I'm sorry. That's hilarious. I want to speak on behalf of the drunken sailors. Actually, might be a sound effect. That's hilarious. Nano said, been lurking, but didn't want to chat during the great diaper shitting event my kids seem to have gotten going. Wait, oh God. Oh, I don't look forward to changing diapers.
Because drunken sailors, there's a limit to how much money a drunken sailor can spend. That isn't the problem here. The problem here is we don't have sound money anymore in our country.
Bring
That's
back gold.
the reason these guys are bickering about spending more and more and more money, because there is no limit to how much our government can continue to print and spend. We need to get back to sound money again. So
you know something? I'm gonna give libertarians 1 point and kudos on this, right? Because every debate, every election, a midterm or cycle like that, they always find their way into the stage, right? And eventually, if you keep wait, what the hell's that? What does that mean? What's going on now? Lord have mercy. Okay. Stream okay? It just flashed, so I didn't want to. Oh God! See, look. Every time I make a point, like it's just something going on, right?
It doesn't matter who we are.
Something's going on, right?
What matters is our plan.
I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to beat the algorithm a little bit. Anyways, just a flicker. Yeah, that's weird though. It shouldn't happen. And a very, 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 very good PC should never happen. Whatever. It's bound to happen. But what I do give libertarian candidates, right, and those who show up on panels or whatnot, I do give them kudos because they keep going out there and they keep spreading their message. Because eventually, it's going to get to the point where the Americans are like, all right, let's just see what these people got to offer. You know, eventually, if you just keep going, keep pushing, you know, eventually the American people get tired, right? They're going to tap out. On behalf of the drunken sailor. I love that.
Government can't continue to have no limit on their credit card. That's the problem with our economy. There are always things to spend more money on. There will be a never-ending list. Do we want to get a control on our economy? We need to get back to a free market and sound money.
Okay, Mark, go back. The idea of IRS agents over border agents.
Well, you know, I've spent a lot of time on our southern border, and let me just say, it's a mess. It's a chaos. It's crisis after crisis. I worked in Washington to bring more Border Patrol agents to the state of Arizona. $1 billion for staffing and security and monitoring systems. So this premise that he's taken, voting against Border Patrol agents, I've worked hard to make sure we have the money so we have more Border Patrol agents on the ground, and that's what we have today.
Respond, please.
Did you or did you not vote to reject 18,000 more Border Patrol agents in the Inflation Reduction Act passage?
Senator.
You know, we
there it is right there.
There are votes that happen in D.C. that have nothing to do with Border Patrol agents, and it might have the title on it, and nothing happens, right? So what I have done is I got $1 billion more for Border Patrol agents for staffing, you know, for the technical systems to monitor the border.
Hold on.
And where they make sense.
I missed that. What?
Patrol agents, and it might have the title.
In the Inflation Reduction Act passage.
Senator.
You know, we
there it is right there.
There are votes that happen.
Wait, what was the question?
18,000 more Border Patrol agents. Did you or did you not vote to reject 18,000 more Border Patrol agents in the Inflation Reduction Act passage?
Oh, okay.
Agents for staffing, you know, for the technical systems to monitor the border, and where they make sense to build more border barriers at the southern border.
Are you
that's my record, which is I've been strong on border security, and I've stood up to Democrats when they're wrong on this issue.
It sounds like
including, by the way,
yes,
including the president. You know, when the president decided he was going to do something dumb on this and change the rules, that would create a bigger crisis, I told him he was wrong. So I pushed back on this administration multiple times, and I've got more money on the ground to increase Border Patrol staffing, technology, and where it makes sense, to build more barriers.
It sounds like he says you're cherry picking here.
He voted against hiring 18,000 more Border Patrol agents and then said yes to 87,000 new IRS agents. I'm sure we're going to talk more about the border. I just want to ask one question. Sir, have you done everything in your power to secure our southern border?
I've been focused on the border since day one on this job.
They can have RoboCops lined up at the border. They can have heat-seeking missiles, armor-piercing rounds, Hummers. They can have the whole military on it, even futuristic military technology that we've never seen. That's not going to stop a person who's trying to survive and fight for his family. It's just not. It's just not going to happen. As much as we like to think that all this grandstanding of putting in military basically almost like military gown groups or agents or whatever the case may be, you're just not going to stop the resilience of a human being trying to fight for his struggling family or finding better opportunity. You're just not. And the biggest reason why I have a problem with this, right? And this notion that, we're protecting these patches of soil, right? Because for some reason, we've already convinced the entire population in some sort of big old psyops that this country is some sort of a bastion of opportunity and hope. When in some semblance it is, if you're just trying to make it out of a different standard of living than it is in your country. But we've continued as human beings, even though if you look back further and further into our species evolutions, as we fought off different species of ourselves, humans, you can look that up yourself. That we've come to terms of what we are today, like Homo sapiens or sapiens or whatever the case may be. Right? My science may be off, but my point within this whole rant is that why do we decide to tailor off patches of our soil towards one another? If we were more of a uniform society, a uniform planetary society, and it'll be much easier to solve the greater issues because we'll have a collective membrane when it comes to it, right? More and more people will understand each other. More and more people won't have these arbitrary restrictions in terms of greeting and knowing one another, right? So, this is just like an old antiquated idea of locking ourselves within our own castle walls because we are afraid of our own selves, basically. And just reduce it to I'm just going to reduce it to a technicality, right? Just basically fighting against ourselves, right? Ourselves just so happen to be a different gender, happen to be a different skin color, happen to come from been born from a different patch of soil than the other. And the funny thing is too, most of these lines, besides those giant fences on some borders and whatnot, most of these lines are arbitrary. Driving to a different state, I can go from North Carolina to South Carolina. There wouldn't be some giant pass or some giant toll booth, asking me, this might be the future. I might just be giving ideas. A giant toll that everyone was funneled through just to pay some taxes or pay a fee to get in, travel between states, whatever the case may be. And also look forward to that, when the country collapses further and further. Right, but that's just something that always gets me, especially with this debate of immigration and whatnot. Just I don't know, shouldn't we have already solved this hundreds of years ago? Think about that. There was no 500, 600, 700, 800 years. There really wasn't much in terms of I don't know how to. When I collect the thought properly, I'll come back to it.
I'm down there all the time. I was on the phone this week, just with Mayor.
Let's hop over to Texas. Oh God.
Many community members made this one specific plea. Here's one student who survived the shooting at Robb Elementary.
You have to be 21 to buy a case of beer, but an 18-year-old bought a gun to kill kids. That does not make sense.
Oh.
To be clear, that's a call to raise the age limit to buy an AR-15 style weapon from 18 to 21. A Republican governor in Florida broke with the NRA to sign this into law after the Parkland mass shooting. Governor Abbott, you say this can't be done in Texas. Mr. O'Rourke, you say it will be done if you're elected. Can you please explain your positions? Let's start with you, Governor Abbott. You have 60 seconds.
First, there's no reason why a little girl like that should ever have to say anything like that. There's a reason why these parents are angry, and they're rightfully angry, and I can feel their pain. No parent should lose a child, and we want to do everything we can to make sure that does not happen. We want to end school shootings, but we cannot do that by making false promises. It's a false promise to suggest that we can pass a law that will be upheld by the Constitution to raise the age, and here's why. The most recent Federal Court of Appeals decision on this particular issue said that it was unconstitutional for a state to raise the age from 18 to 21 for a person to buy an AR-15. So any attempt to try to raise the age is going to be met with it being overturned. So we need to get to the bottom of what is really ailing our communities, and that is the mental health that is leading people to engage in school shootings. And Texas is already addressing that.
The biggest reason, I'm going to put on my liberal hat for this as well, it's like the issue that so far it gets like thrown back and forth arbitrarily. It's the access to firearms. We all know this. There's no, whatever position you can take, it's the overall access to firearms in this country. It's become too simple, right? And that's not going to go anyway anytime soon, unless we do something extremely draconian, which I'm not in favor of. I'm actually for people for the right to bear arms, but if there's like heavy regulation to do so, then yeah, it seems like there's more regulations to purchase a vehicle than there is to, buy a firearm in this country. Seems like it, right? You can back and forth to see those type of regulations, but it's mostly the access to firearms or lethal weapons in a country who's already mentally deprived, mentally has mental issues. It's just out the ass. Like cultural, mental issues in this country just run rampant and include the opiate crisis, the drug epidemic, the lethal drug epidemic, and it's just a pot of bullshit. It's bound to happen, right? That's the equation there.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up, Governor. Take 15 seconds to answer this. You're a former Attorney General. You've never shied away from a legal fight. Are you against this proposal because you feel like it's unconstitutional, or you believe that it's unnecessary? You personally believe that it's unnecessary?
Purely from a legal position, based upon what that Court of Appeals decision ruled, and importantly, based upon what the Supreme Court decision said in a June opinion that changed the way that Parkland case was determined. I know how the Parkland case was determined. Florida is going to have its law overturned because of this new Supreme Court decision.
Thank you, Governor. Mr. O'Rourke, in 60 seconds, can you please explain your position on raising the age limit to purchase AR-15 style weapons?
First of all,
I'm
going to follow the lead of those families from Uvalde. That's who I'm doing this for. In fact, many of them drove more than 5 hours, 280 miles to be here today, even though they're not allowed in this theater because of the governor's conditions, because they want to hold him accountable, because it's been 18 weeks since their kids have been killed, and not a thing has changed in this state to make it any less likely that any other child will meet the same fate. All we need is
social media rotation
is
freaking out.
in our way is the governor of the state of Texas. In Florida, after the Parkland shootings, it was 23 days for that Republican governor to raise the age. And in those states where the age has been raised, mass shootings are down 80%. So yes, we can raise the age to 21. And as governor, I'll bring Republicans and Democrats around the table to do that. After all of these...
That's just not going to happen. This is not going to happen. There's a sycophantic gun culture in this country, right? And more power to them if that's what they sit down there and worship, but it's just not going to do nothing, especially when there's a heavy money interest lobbying group that wants this to happen, right? Not only the NRA, but other subgroups from that too. It's just not going to happen. That's where the money is at, right? So, you can you could say all these things that you're gonna do until that influence is, hits your ear and your pocketbook. Those lobbyists just come into your office and say, hey, there's a Ferrari parked out back and I might leave the keys on the table. Who's to say it's not already in your name? All you got to do is just ignore this bill or, make it more palatable for us, our special interest. It's just that simple.
Shootings, this governor has done nothing except make it easier for people who should not have a firearm to carry them publicly, and this is what we get as a result. We need change.
Governor Abbott, the last time you ran for governor, we asked you about red flag laws, and those are laws which could stop an individual with potential intention to harm others from purchasing a gun. And you said about that, quote, I would not support a red flag law that would take guns away from people without due process. Now, a lot has happened in those 4 years. Are you open to implementing red flag laws today? You have 30 seconds.
Well, let me tell you what I support and I don't support. What I support is making it a felony for someone to lie on a background check. I signed that into law last year. I approve of expanding background checks to include juvenile records. Also approve of making it a crime for criminal gangs to buy or to possess a gun. But I'm still against red flag laws for the reason that it would...
But you're never going to stop that. There's too much incentive for them to purchase a firearm, especially in their own living conditions. The reason why a lot of these gang groups and these violent groups are birthed in the first place is due to the environmental circumstances that brought forth their particular negativity towards their own community. You just can't do it.
A lawful Texas gun owner their constitutional right to due process.
Thank you, Governor. Mr. O'Rourke, you have been criticized at times for your positions on gun control, including this comment you made in 2019 while running for president.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
But in February, you told reporters in Tyler that you were, quote...
What did I say? What did I say? I just said it earlier when he was mentioning about he's going to do something about gun legislation until the lobbying groups, the special money interest groups, the gun fanatics, and their concentrated group of wealth whispers in his ear, right? It's all theater. It's all political show. And this is what the Democrats are good at doing. Unlike Abbott, where it just seems like it's just a toss up in the wind to whatever questions, whatever answers he asked, whatever he's thrown into it. Like all he wants to do is just centralize his arguments around the Biden administration, Biden bad, Biden bad, Biden bad. But we've seen this already happen in the other sector, the other side about Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. It's the same thing. It's all lies. It's all the plate facade against you. Right? And this is why I love. And I sit here and I listen to O'Rourke speak, right? The old me, the old used to be kind of on the Democrat side, whatever case may be. Oh yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Then I have to keep reminding myself, yeah, it only sounds good, but is it applicable? Is it going to actually be applied, implemented? Is there going to be a legislative policy that doesn't allow itself when the bills don't have those small sectors and those small subsections with legal jargon to allow it to be loopholed into the system itself? Right? And this is why a lot of loopholes already exist, right? They're the pre-existing conditions of most bills, right? A lot of these lobbying groups already have under influences in the staffers that draft these legislations that get reviewed by the senator or congressperson in power. And then, all those things are inserted in there and kind of legally ambiguous to thus allow those loopholes to be implemented, right? And guess who suffers at the end of the day when all these things transpires? We are all suffering because of it.
You're a victim.
And that's all you are at the end of the day, regardless if you're right-leaning, left-leaning, mostly, and also far left-leaning. I won't say far right-leaning because if you're far right-leaning, you love all this shit. Yeah, you're a victim to the circumstances around you. I don't care how much you make, right? You're gonna be affected about what's going on in terms of your kids going to school or the mental health ignorance that we have in this country and complete negligence we have in terms of tackling that issue as well. You can thank Reagan for that. It's all a cavalcade of nonsense and it predates most of our own birth years. So this is where we're at. We've been handed these Can't even call that bill of goods. It's poop.
Not interested in taking anything away from anyone. So which is it, Mr. O'Rourke? Are you for confiscating AR-15 style weapons or not? You have 30 seconds.
After losing 23 of my neighbors to somebody armed with a weapon of war, after talking to these families who could only identify their children in Uvalde by the shoes that they were wearing, it's clear to me that the only place that an AR-15 or an AK-47 makes sense is on a battlefield. But as governor of the state of Texas, I need to be focused on what we can get done. Raising the minimum age of purchase to 21, we can get that done. A red flag law, we'll get that done. Universal background checks, we will get that done. We'll make progress and take action where this governor has failed.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. So just to be clear, yes or no, are you for confiscating AR-15 style weapons?
I'm for making sure that we make progress. Those families that I was just with from Uvalde want us to take action. This is the common ground. I've listened to Republicans and Democrats alike on this. We can agree on this much. Raise the...
You know where he, his emotional outburst basically put him into this position, right? He wanted that star moment when he can have people cheering him on, cheering his name on, right? And he felt that, right? But then reality sunk in, right? The pocketbooks felt a little bit lighter. He's like, oh shoot, now I can't really double down on something that I basically expounded on the presidential stage, right? The presidential debate stage. So now just basically a fish out of water, floundering, trying to find his, people watching this be like, well, you got to say yes or no. I mean, you got to have a strong stance, right? That's the only way you're going to convince people who otherwise are not convinced by you. You just got to stand on your, I guess, principles, right? Is that a new thing for politicians now? Standing on your principles, saying, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And this is what it leads to, right? Because then people have now a concrete impression of what your policies that you're going to implement, right? And also, and what you stand for. They just can't be as ambiguous because the American, the American, how to say it, the collective American brain power and attention span is that of a gnat. Right? At this point, when it comes to politics, with sports now, I'm not gonna touch you guys. Who said yes or no?
Age to 21, okay. Red flag law and universal background check.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. Steve has the next question.
Thank you, Gromer. We want to focus in now more on the Uvalde shooting.
I know.
A gunman killed 19 children and 2 adults. Its effects, though, go far beyond Uvalde. Mr. O'Rourke, I want you to speak to parents of victims and really all parents statewide worried about their children's safety at school. What would you do if elected to prevent this from happening again? You have 60 seconds.
Just like you, I'm a parent. With Amy, we're raising Ulysses and Molly and Henry in El Paso, and we are well aware that it's been 18 weeks, and this governor has not lifted a finger to make it any less likely that any of our kids will meet that same fate. We need change. The governor just talked about mental health care. We are dead last in the nation when it comes to mental health care access, and he took $211 million from the mental health care budget of the state of Texas. He'll talk about police funding. He failed to fund the police radios in Uvalde, even when that police department asked for them. And you know what? Those radios failed on that day. I want every parent out there to know.
Bro, it's going to get to the point where Bedo's going to lose every single election. He's going to lose his run for sheriff, too. Okay. I just had to throw that in. Okay. That's just me being an ass. I'll make you going.
That the lives of your children are more important to me than the NRA or any special interest or any
they
other
really want him
consideration. I will prioritize them ahead of everything else, and we will take action and we will make progress. We'll bring Republicans, Democrats, independents alike together, and we'll get the job done where this governor has failed to do so.
Governor Abbott, to you now. The families of the victims, the Uvalde School District, the Uvalde County Commissioners, the Uvalde City Council all asked for you to call a special session in the wake of the tragedy. You did not, despite calling them on several other issues in the past. Can you explain why you didn't call a special session? You have 60 seconds.
I will, but I must first respond to what we have to respond to every single day. Beto's campaign continues to spew lies and false information. He said 2 things that are completely false. He said that we're last in mental health care. The fact of the matter is Texas is now 27th in mental health care because of funding that I provided. Texas has provided more than $25 billion for mental health care in the last 3 sessions. He also said that we did not fund police radios in Uvalde. Completely false. We provided $1.6 million for Uvalde alone for their police radio systems since I've been governor. So Beto continues to provide false information. What I want to make sure that the leaders in Uvalde know is, as we've shown, we don't need to call a special session in order to take action. For 6 consecutive days after the shooting took place, I issued directives to make schools safer and respond to the emergency in Uvalde. And then I remain engaged with the mayor, with the local leaders.
It could have been worse. That's what you told those families. That's what you told that community, and you have done nothing to help them.
Mr. O'Rourke, Mr. O'Rourke, we're not done with this topic yet, so you will have your say. But Governor, I want to follow up with you. There's a regular session coming up in January. Will you make school safety an emergency item for lawmakers when they meet? You have 15 seconds.
Absolutely. Just like I did in past sessions. This is going to be an emergency item. Over the summer, I requested special legislative committees to begin working already. So that they will have ready when we begin the session to address Uvalde, but the broader-based issue across the entire state of Texas,
if it's an emergency,
as you
call a
mentioned
special
earlier.
session now. Why wait till the next year?
Mr. O'Rourke, a question for you now.
Gun violence is a leading cause of death for children and teenagers in this state. Why are you waiting to save lives?
We need to move on. We've got a lot of topics we want to get to, but we want to stay on Uvalde because there's still some questions that we have here. So I appreciate you staying.
Oh man, this is terrible. I'm not gonna lie. This is a bit more juicier now than it is in Arizona, but let's go to Arizona.
Nichols of Yuma, Sheriff Daniels of Cochise County, talking about what more we need for Border Patrol and immigration.
That, my friends, is called evasion.
We're working to raise Border Patrol pay by 18%. I've got legislation to do that. I've been focused on the border since day one.
Okay.
We know great effects because we have a wide open southern border. So if that's the best you can do, I respectfully request you resign and let's get someone in the seat who will actually secure our border.
Nah, Nano said it. Are these live right now? Arizona's state debate was live. I think an hour ago. And I caught it before they made them as private. I think this is what dinged my YouTube, but who cares?
Washington, D.C. has failed on this issue of border security and immigration for decades. And it's been crisis after crisis. I've been focused on this since day one, and I brought more resources here to the state of Arizona to deal with this issue.
Let's continue to focus on immigration. We'll go 90 seconds here. Blake, we'll start with you. Immigration reform. I hear border security mentioned a lot. You have mentioned border security. You want to secure the border. How would you know when the border is secure? How do we know when the border is secure?
Well, call me old-fashioned, but I think the correct amount of illegal immigration is 0. That's what federal law says. The problem is...
You can see how both sides live in this fantasy world, right? Because they're so out of touch with what's going on, even in their own fucking states, that they believe that these grandiose statements are somewhat powerful stance against a certain issue or whatnot, right? The number is 0. Bruv, everyone knows. You can even look up to the Canadian border. You're still gonna get more than 0. All right. There's gonna be some people who just trickle in. It just happens, right? Because we decided to patch up our pad of dirt, right? Put fences around it and say this is our pad of dirt. It's no different from the pad of dirt that you are. Might be a little bit warmer, a little bit colder, but this is our special patch of dirt.
Is that Joe Biden and Mark Kelly are willfully ignoring federal law. They've surrendered our southern border. They've given it up to the Mexican drug cartels. We had operational control 2 years ago, and now it's just a complete disaster. They incentivize people to break the law. Illegal aliens, when they come here, they're supposed to be caught and deported back to their home country or back to some other country that wants them. But no, Joe Biden and Mark Kelly, they laid out the welcome mat. This is the greatest country in the history of the world. You
know what's funny about that now? You can also thank some of these Republican governors like Abbott, and you can also thank like DeSantis too, for also trafficking those undocumented immigrants instead of what they say, deport them, they're just, busing him into democratic cities and hoping things run amok. It's so funny. It's so funny when you know these facts and you just listen to these type of debates. You're like, oh yeah, that's just bullshit. That's just BS. It's just straight BS. We know exactly what you're gonna do if you ever took that position. It's the same, right?
Everybody to come here, you'll create a crisis. And so 5 million illegals, literally 5 million, have come here in the last 22 months.
Okay.
Joe Biden and Mark Kelly have welcomed them. When these people cross, they know not only will they not be deported, but they're given envelopes with cash, plane tickets. Here's a hotel room in Scottsdale. We treat these people better than we treat our own U.S. military service members. I find that shameful. 300,000 come through every month. It's a humanitarian disaster. The women and children are raped. The men are indentured servants sold into some kind of slavery. And it's not.
What? What? Wait, where is this going on? This is going on in your state now? Arizona. When y'all bring back indentured servitude like that? Besides signing up for a 9-to-5 through a corporation or W-2 form as well. But, most of us are already indentured servitudes to our overlords and masters who run this country. But besides that point, how is the undocumented immigrant doing that? Right? Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't know that.
People, it's the drugs, the fentanyl that's coming through. It's killing kids. We're losing 2,000 Arizonans every year to fentanyl. This stuff is poison. It's coming right there up through the southern border, and Mark Kelly and Joe Biden have not done a single thing to stop it. It is carnage, and so I think we should secure the border. That means a wall. It means doubling the size of Border Patrol, and
here's a little black pill when it comes to fentanyl. A lot of these pharmaceutical companies, they create these certain drugs, right? Because they have medical applications. And in doing so, these medical applications, there are, let's say, criminal elements within our own medical system, right? And within those criminal elements, these nurses, these doctors and whatnot who prescribe these medicines, sometimes let these medicines out loose to, certain people. And it's not all nurses or doctors. And also distributors are also, these companies, distributors are also have, let's say, criminal elements within them as well. A lot of these people in these industries understand that America, the Western part of our society, not only America as well, have a huge opioid need, right? They have a need, a fix, a need to get high. So knowing a lot of these criminal drug elements or not will push out stronger and stronger drugs because, as Americans become more and more tolerant to the previous opioid that's been passed around, now they need something stronger. And the stronger it gets, the stronger these drugs that get pushed around, the more likelihood you are to overdose and be deleted because of these drugs. So a lot of these criminal drug pushers and peddlers understand that. So they have to, basically because of demand, increase their supply of these more deadlier drugs and push that out to the American people who already are addicted to these opioids and whatnot, right? And basically the push against marijuana, which will kind of actually negate some of these peddlers and make it a bit more simpler for Americans to find a more medicinal drug that has particular benefits, that can help along with that fight against the opioid epidemic here in this country, right? But we're starting to hear a lot more about fentanyl this, fentanyl that. That's just the next step of what's going on with the opioid crisis, Nano said the fear monger is beyond infuriating. It literally made me worry so much more than necessary when it was needed for my kids' open heart surgery at 6 months. Shit was stressful enough without the bullshit in my head. Yeah, 100%. I agree. Now now they just point out another fact there. Well, now we're going to be more and more. I don't know how they do it. We're more and more less reliant on our own medical infrastructure than we used to be. We're more skeptical of them, which is some of it's healthy skepticism when it involves negligent medical practice practices or practicers when they decide to, push these like painkillers at an alarming rate just to basically line their own pockets. Then it becomes the biggest issue. I knew it was bullshit, but still, thoughts intrude. Of course, as any parent should, right? There's always that 1% chance, or there's always that there's always a moral standing or an ethical reason why you always will be cautious around things put into your children's body.
Means let's get back to deporting people who try to break into our country, something that Mark Kelly routinely votes against.
We'll get to Mark Kelly in a second here, but Mark Victor, as far as immigration reform is concerned, walls, more border agents, what say you?
Ted, how long are we going to keep talking about this same problem? Administration after administration after administration.
I like this guy.
They're bickering about securing the border and spending money, but nobody ever gets it done. We need to get it done. I'm in favor of a comprehensive overhaul of the entire immigration policy. It doesn't have to be very confusing. We had a great immigration policy in this country in the late 1800s, early 1900s. In fact, we didn't even have a term, illegal immigration. There was just immigration. It wasn't a big deal. We welcomed immigrants to America. Most of the people who come to America, and I've been representing many of them over the last 28 years, the vast majority of them are great people. They come here to work, to pursue the American dream, but they should get nothing.
Okay, so I'm gonna lay down the biggest reason why that immigration is not a problem and a talking point in the lexicon of American political diatribe. So the biggest reason why, and I'm just gonna say it outright, it's white supremacy. That's the biggest reason why. That's the amplification of this immigration problem being so much of as a problem that's put in the forefront of Americans. Because what's going on is that these group of white supremacists who've infiltrated our political structure and whatnot, and also our law enforcement structure, they like to peddle out that they believe themselves to be a superior race that is, more endearing of this country and the resources that is available to it to themselves because they have some sort of grand religious, whatever the case may be, they can formulate themselves, or some pseudoscience bullshit and nonsense that they peddle to one another to make themselves feel better because of inferiority complex, to the extent that they decided that immigration is something that should be exacerbated and pushed out into the mainstream because they wanted to argue, because of what's the influx of human migration around this planet, and also not adhering to the fact that most of the country is brown or black, the world is brown or black, that they don't want their population to decrease because they feel like that's a direct threat to them. And the contrary, it's actually kind of, a direct threat to them. So, they'll have these talking points. They have these think tanks that, that is basically the root of why they want this to be pushed out into the mainstream in this talking point. And other than that, it's just as the candidate just said. Back in the day, they welcomed most people, right? They welcomed all immigrants because they knew that brought in wealth, that brought in labor, right? But at this point, if it's not the right immigrant, right, then it doesn't produce what they want, right? You could be from a black country, right, or brown or black country, right? You can come in here, you can make it, you can make your own business and whatnot. You still wouldn't be viewed as the same as a person who came in from, let's say, a Nordic country or a white country and it did the same thing, right? More so, all the praise and all the access to resources at the highest level will be more pushed to them, and you can see a little bit. You can't really it is more difficult to quantify it or qualify it with surveys or studies in this matter because a lot of these people are secretive, but you could see little small hints of it from basically our social dynamics that we had in terms of access to wealth and resources that is distributed amongst a melting pot such as America, right? So that's basically a small little ramble about why we always talk about immigration being so much of an issue in this country. It's just mostly just rooted in white supremacy and radicalization of a white poor youth. Into more destructive ideologies that puts us in the same peculiar position as someone who should have should have the sameness, or should have the view that it's their issues and their problems that they're growing up with it's much more rooted in a I don't want to be at class reductions, but it's much more rooted in this structure that we uphold, right? This machine that we tend to constantly.
Thing when they come here besides the right to peacefully pursue their happiness. Nobody has a right to live at the expense of another person. They should get no welfare or social programs at all. But we do need to immediately secure the border. Nobody has a right to aggress against anybody else, whether they're inside or outside the border. Let's try to keep the bad guys out. We should streamline the asylum process. It's ridiculous that it takes so long to get a reasonably simple hearing done. I am very pro-immigration. It's good for America. It helps our economy. We've got demographic issues as well. We need more younger workers. Can you imagine our situation? We got a huge labor shortage right now. We got lots of immigrants who want to work. We can't get a visa program so they can actually work. Let's get them to work. This is why Sheriff Hathaway in Santa Cruz County endorsed me, because I've got a plan. There is no perfect solution here, but we need a path to citizenship as well.
Okay,
I do not want to tear families apart
and
who
that
are
is-
here and working and are law-abiding. We should not be.
And the funny thing is, there is already a path to citizenship. The biggest issue is streamlining that path to citizenship, so it takes a lesser amount of years than it does. It doesn't really take that much of a stressful toll on the person trying to obtain their citizenship in the United States, right? Especially a country that basically all it does is just flaunts its wealth with opulence around this whole planet, you know, and screams to be the best. We're suffering with major issues. A lot of the immigrants here understand most of the political system at the basic levels that most Americans born here, right? You can already see it in terms of like social media content when like content creators go out and ask like basic civics and political questions to everyday Americans or even the youth, and they barely have an idea of what's going on in their own country. Well, in which an immigrant who basically have to study up upon the country and the language and take about a decade to receive their full citizenship, you know, before they even considered, you know, a full-fledged citizen in this country. And then after receiving that citizenship, told that they need to go back to that country, especially with all the work and effort that they put in, all the labor and time and sacrifices and the money that they pushed into this damn forsaken country, only to be told that because you're different by means of patch of soil or by means of skin color or whatever groups or whatever we can formulate in our heads to cause an otherization of our own species, we would do, right? And then you're left wondering, why the hell did I do all that? Why did I sacrifice so much for a country who doesn't really give a fuck about me? That's fine. I'm just gonna go in the background, make what I can to keep my family alive, and just leave this whole process to basically eat itself.
Deporting.
That is time. 90 seconds, Mark Kelly. Immigration.
I'll talk more than they have.
Enough as far as immigration
transformative content.
In Arizona, in the country.
You know, when I got to Washington, D.C., one of the first things I realized was that Democrats don't understand this issue. And Republicans just want to talk about it, and complain about it, but actually not do anything about it. They just want to politicize that. And we heard this tonight from my opponent, Blake Masters. You know, he thinks he knows better than everyone about everything. And when it comes to border security, you know, I've been focused on this. And on immigration, yes, we need comprehensive immigration reform. We have tens of thousands of dreamers here in the state of Arizona that are as American as my own two kids. I've got one daughter lives in Tucson, my granddaughter lives in Tucson. I think of dreamers no different. You know, my opponent, Blake Masters, on the other hand, he said he would never offer citizenship to dreamers. I think it's mean and it's fundamentally un-American. We need comprehensive immigration reform in a lot of different ways. I talk to farmers and ranchers all the time, can't get the workforce they need under the existing visa programs. And they're really struggling. I mean, you look at Yuma and the food supply issues we have down there and the workforce issues of legal immigration.
All right, I'm bored. Let's go to Texas.
Within your time. Mr. O'Rourke, Uvalde School District Police Chief Pete Arredondo, who led the initial law enforcement response at Robb Elementary was fired. Is there anyone else who should be held accountable for the mistakes made in that hallway in Robb Elementary that day? You have 30 seconds.
The governor said it himself in an interview to Gromer Jeffers last month. There should be accountability up and down the ballot, beginning with Greg Abbott.
Whoa, 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 what is going on? What is this? What the
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Ranking. President Biden said the risk for nuclear Armageddon is at its highest level since 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, as Russian officials speak on the possibility of using tactical nuclear weapons after suffering massive setbacks in Ukraine. Oh, wait. What in the wait,
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Okay, so we have to take this. All right, let's see what's going on here. Did I just see Bedo Rourke? You did. We're gonna cook up more, but this is live right now. This is breaking. All right, this is up. Okay, so take this all with a grain of salt, because we don't know exactly what's going on. This is breaking news, so it could develop into something of a nothing burger. Okay, President Joe Biden said Thursday, it's today, that the risk of nuclear Armageddon is at its highest level since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, as Russian officials speak of the possibility of using tactical nuclear weapons after suffering massive setbacks in the 8th-month invasion of Ukraine. Speakers at a fundraiser for the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, Biden said, Russian President Vladimir Putin is a guy I know fairly well. Okay, all right, whatever. The Russian leader was not joking when he talks about the use of tactical nuclear weapons or biological or chemical weapons. Biden added, we have not faced the prospect of Armageddon since Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis. He suggests the threat for Putin is real because because his military, you might say, significantly underperforming. U.S. officials for the months have warned of prospect that Russia could use weapons of mass destruction in Ukraine as it faced a series of strategic setbacks on the battlefield. Though Biden marked the starkest warning yet issued by U.S. governments about nuclear stakes. So wait. So this man is just saying all this shit nonchalantly in some sort of dinner or something? What's going in a fun? Yeah. So he's just saying this all nonchalant. Oh yeah, man, that dude Putin is crazy. The guy's he might press that red button. Hey, look, you guys ready for Armageddon? Who's on Democrat this November? Look, let me tell you something right now. Look, all right. Let me tell you what a black pill truth, right? It doesn't matter what president or how, like what if the Congress is Republican or Democrat or Libertarian. It could be anything. It could be a whole cavalcade of fascism. If nuclear Armageddon actually happens, guess what? There's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. And it comes back into something that I've been pondering for the longest time. And it always leaves me stumped when I think about this. Our very lives, right? Most of you guys flicking the bean, spanking the chicken, or whatever the case may be. You need to have this thought in your head now, because we're living in these type of times. It only takes one bad day and one wrong decision to annihilate the planet. Think about this. We're leaving the very existence of our species on this planet to a few handful of folks who are old, who are angry, and who, without a whim, annihilate cities and countries and potentially the planet just because they had a bad day or heard something wrong or heard the wrong information being spread. Think about that. Let that sit on your shoulders. What would you do about it? And what are you going to do about it? What? Think about that power. It's like the Kanye West song, but think about that level of power that you have, right? Just think about that. Yeah, man, we're all going to die. Mother, could you pass the chicken? Doesn't know Biden, he's manic. I don't know. Man, just saying it nonchalantly. It's insane. Just think about that, right? your very lives hang in the balance because someone would have a bad day and it's over. Putin could have the worst day possible, lose so many Russian soldiers in the fight against Ukraine, right? And I don't know my position. It's the information coming out from there is so propagandized from both sides. I just don't know. All I know is I see Nazi memorabilia everywhere, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Right? I thought I have no idea what's going on. Okay. So don't try to come here and try to pin me down on that position because I have not that much information on it. It was not immediately clear whether Biden was referring to any new assessment of Russian intentions. As recently as this week, though, U.S. officials have said they have seen no change to Russian nuclear forces that will require a change in the alert posture of the nuclear forces. We have not seen any reason to adjust our own strategic nuclear posture, nor do we have indication that Russia is preparing to immediately use nuclear weapons. White House Press Secretary Karen Jean, whatever. The 13-day showdown. Okay, we know about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, let's. Biden also challenged Russian nuclear doctrine, warning that the use of low-yield tactical weapons could quickly spiral out of control into global destruction. Man, everyone wants to press the red button, don't they? I guess the United States only gets a pass from that one time they basically bombed the island country. But whatever. He added that he was still trying to figure out, and still to this day may not made a formal apology. Putin's off the ramp to Ukraine. Where does he find a way out? Biden asked. Where does he find himself in a position that he does not only lose face, but lose significant power within Russia? Putin has repeatedly alluded to using his country's vast nuclear arsenal, including last month when he announced plans to conscript Russian men to serve in Ukraine. I want to remind you that our country also has various means of destruction, and when the territorial integrity of our country is threatened, to protect Russia and our people, we will certainly use all the means that at our disposal, Putin said on September 21st, adding with his lingering stare at the camera, it is not a bluff. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said last week that the U.S. has been clear to Russia about the consequences of using a nuclear weapon in Ukraine would be. This is something that we were attuned to taking very seriously and communicating directly with Russia about, including the kind of decisive responses the United States would have if it went down the dark road, Sullivan asked. Yeah, everyone just want to press their button. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky said earlier today, Thursday, that Putin understood that the world will never forgive a Russian nuclear strike. He understood that after the use of nuclear weapons, he would be unable anymore to preserve, so to speak, his life. I'm confident of that, Zelensky said. Biden's comment came during a private fundraiser for Democratic Senate candidates at the Manhattan home of James and Catherine Murdoch. Bruv.
What matters is our plan.
He tends to be more unguarded, often speaking with just rough notes in such a setting, which are open to only a handful of reporters without cameras or recording devices. You got the Murdoch's crib?
It doesn't matter.
You're at the Murdoch's crib.
What matters is our plan.
That shit crazy. I just want to bring that into attention. Isn't that beautiful? It's nice knowing you guys. Yeah, I mean, we're all, bro, if I'm going out to powder wig and blue coat with a scallywag special. That's hilarious. Oh, let's see. So we are halfway through Texas, and I appreciate the follow. And we are 53. I'm about halfway through Arizona. I don't know if we're gonna finish all these. We just might wrap this up and conclude it a little bit later. What's my opinion on Bedo O'Rourke? Bedo O'Rourke is a curious guy, a very curious guy. In terms of my position, my political positions, I can see him as basically one of the best politicians in a suit, especially from the Democratic side. So Beto O'Rourke represents a lot of what the mainstream powers want to push and peddle in front of us, right? Most people who are not politically savvy or understand politics, even at a surface level, probably can see right through the facade that is Beto O'Rourke, right? It's just the same Democratic playbook that they use, right? These are all this flowery messaging trying to hit home a certain point or a certain sector to reinforce their consciousness to bring themselves out to the poll, right? But people are starting to become more and more worried or more like skeptical when it comes to Democratic messaging, right? And I don't think Beto O'Rourke's team, basically tells them like, hey, people are starting to see through your bullshit, right? You say one thing, you say it boastfully, you say it with such confidence, right? But then when speaking about it in closed doors, you're like, I ain't doing shit, bro. That was cool though, right? That's what basically Beto just gave. He's the perfect Democrat in a suit, right? Irregardless if he's in a position of power or not, you're not going to get much change. Now Abbott,
Right.
he lighting that
So
country
the
on.
state-
He lighting your state on fire.
in the
He
most
lighting.
important position of public trust. Furthermore, we know that there were 91 DPS troopers for whom he is responsible who were on the other side of an unlocked door, some for more than 70 minutes. There is a complete failure to hold people responsible, accountable. Those families still do not have justice. As governor, I will make it my priority.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. Governor, now to you.
There was it. Go ahead.
I'll give you 15 seconds.
He was until he got, pressured into answering the question, are you still going to take away assault style riot guns, whatever, style weaponry? And then he still didn't give a concrete answer. Like I said, it's all for show. It's all for boast, right? He's in a presidential debate stage. He, said, oh, we're going to take AR, right? And then later on, it was reported, oh yeah, we're not doing none of that, okay? My pockets lined up a bit, and I don't like sitting in my Corvette without feeling quadruple cheeks, right? Because I make so much money, I own 2 wallets, okay? And I carry cash for some reason.
If you want to respond to what
Well,
he said.
I was going to answer the question I thought you were going to ask me. But
I've got another question
Okay.
for you. Right after the shooting,
They're so
he said
rude.
this.
But the reality is, as horrible as what happened, it could have been worse.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. And then again, Republicans going straight mask off. Look, I don't give a... Look, your kids may have been deleted in their school, in their peaceful, joyful area in which they shouldn't feel the harms of our society and the lunatics, harming them. Could have been worse. It could have been me. That's exactly what he said. Oh, you didn't hear what he said? I'll replay that.
But the reality is,
You said this.
But the reality is, as horrible as what happened, it could have been worse.
It could have been worse. You heard Mr. O'Rourke bring it up. You later said you were misled about what happened inside Robb Elementary. If my memory serves me right, that was the day after. So we were just moments after what had happened. Who misled you, and will they be held accountable? You have 30 seconds.
everyone in that briefing room that provided me the information about what law enforcement did.
Throw 'em
what
under the
that
bus.
comment was based upon
Throw 'em
was
under the bus.
information by law enforcement about all the children in all the other classrooms that they evacuated during the time when the shooter.
Throw 'em under the bus,
What
Gabby.
they did not tell me at the time, however,
Squirm.
was that there were dozens, if not more, of other law enforcement that were hanging around in the hallway for over an hour without engaging in the Columbine protocol and going in and immediately removing that shooter, which is what they were supposed to do. And because they failed to do that, there does need to be accountability, not just for Pete Arredondo, but also for local law enforcement. DPS officers are under investigation as we speak right now. There needs to be.
Isn't it crazy, Abbott, that the information you were given was wrong information, and you decided to 100% put your faith in the very same police officers that did nothing about the situation, but basically misinformed the public, misinformed their the powers that be, right? And basically exacerbated the situation. They didn't make it worse, basically. But you wanted to be so pro cop. You know, you wanted, just to use that as a political opportunity to show that you backed the blue. And guess what the blue did? They fucked you. Welcome to being a normal American. It happens. Yeah.
Accountability for law enforcement at every level for not following the Columbine Protocol.
You will be sure to.
What's my current stance on gun rights? For me, I'm pro Second Amendment. I'm pro people having the rights to bear arms and whatnot. But I do agree that the regulatory agency should have a bit more oversight about like how many Americans can obtain firearms per se. So in my position, and my stance is that of course they should raise the age not to 21 but to 19 or 20, right? And also the type of purchase of the firearm purchase that you have should be just like a class system in terms of how you have classes system and like licensing for different types of vehicles that you operate, motorcycle, trucks, and whatnot, right? You get it, such and so forth. So the first level should be okay, you pass the training, you pass the safety inspections, you pass the background check. All right, you have access to these type of firearms, 9mm, Glock, whatnot, right? Okay, all right, a couple years pass by, a year or two down the road, you haven't found to be caught with any felonies, any misdemeanors, anything that can pop up you in the system that shows that you are, a criminal agent or whatnot. Then you can up your stance to more and more soft firearms and so forth into a stage where you're kind of teetering around like military grade weaponry, but you've shown that throughout a decade or so or more, so that you're more capable and responsible with the gun. So your uses for it either being recreational or for sport hunting, which I'm against, but I know gun owners do that anyway. That's fine. You've shown to be a lawful citizen, right? And you have something extremely deadly. But here's the thing: you should also sign a waiver, and since you would not take action in terms of in the public domain, in terms of if there were such like a criminal shooting going around, or basically a mass shooter transpiring, right? You leave that to law enforcement. You don't just try to be a vigilante with that, because that can lead into a whole host of issues. Now in your home, yeah, of course, defend yourself, as best as you can. If you're about to get your house gets broken into by like 5 or 6, 7 different strangers, and they're gonna produce material harm to your family, or even one stranger, and for a fact that you have to defend your family. You have to do what you got to do, military grade rifle or not. They shouldn't be in the hands of regulatory agencies. If laws going to be made, it needs to go through Congress. No more of the ATF rule changes. Yeah.
Yes,
as governor.
in a word, yes. But second, there are at least 7 who are under investigation as we speak right now, 2 of whom are on suspension.
But you need that task force
right now. And so
to have oversight over that, because Congress can't look over every single thing, right? Their job was mostly just to, pass the bill, pass it to the necessary bureaucratic agencies, or acronym industries is what I like to call them here, and let them regulate that, because it'd be much simpler. It would be, but we're in the position we are today because of a whole host of issues we chose to ignore because they were an inconvenience to our lifestyles and our wistful dreaming for a life of opulence and boasting ourselves to be better than others. So that's why we're here today in America. All right.
Respect DPS officers and law enforcement across the state to follow the Columbine Protocol.
Governor, the buck stops on your desk. You blame everyone else. You blame Joe Biden for other issues.
We need to move on.
You
we
blame
need to move
people
on
for
topics.
misleading
And
you.
actually,
You are misleading this state.
Sally will ask the next question.
I do, and I think you're both going to want to talk about this next topic. It's the
I see what you're
of
coming from. I have to look more into that.
Next star, Emerson.
I'm not gonna get too much into that because I probably have to look at it to myself and read it to myself. But you gave me something I'm curious about. You know, I'm not gonna be like a. I'm not. And most people who watch me on the regular can tell you if I don't know something or I'm not too understanding of a particular topic, I'll just tell you straight out. I'm not privy too much to that information, so I'm gonna see when I have the time to research that further, and maybe I could have a more concrete stance on it and have more of a breakdown of that. You know.
And the Hill poll shows
I didn't even know
more than
that.
half
I'll look more
of
into the
those
ATF
polls
and
say
see what's going on.
they are more likely to vote in this election because of the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
Uh-oh.
You both are very outspoken on this issue, but what I want to do tonight.
Oh yeah, the
is
Republicans
drill
is
down on the specifics.
Could be a lot of
Governor
Karens showing up to the poll.
recently sat down with my friend Gromer over here, and you talked about what women can do if they are victims of rape or incest. And here's a clip of that interview.
Those victims can access health care immediately as well as to report it. Both of those have very meaningful consequences. By accessing health care immediately, they can get the Plan B pill that can prevent a pregnancy from occurring in the first place.
Some healthcare advocates say emergency contraception like Plan B is often unavailable or it's too costly for women to afford. And trauma could prevent them from taking emergency contraception in the time frame that it's effective. So, Governor, we're going to start with you. With these concerns that I just laid out, is emergency contraception a viable alternative to abortion for victims of rape and incest? And you have 60 seconds, sir.
Sure. So to directly answer the topics that you raised, on the availability of it, it's incumbent upon the state of Texas to make sure that it is readily available. For those who are victims of sexual assault or survivors of sexual assault, the state of Texas pays for that, whether it be at a hospital, at a clinic, or for someone who gets a prescription because of it. And so not only should be readily available, but the state of Texas is going to pay for it to make sure that it is available for them.
But Governor, 30 seconds, or I'll give you 30 seconds to answer this one. I still want to know, is Plan B the alternative when it comes to somebody who is pregnant from rape or incest?
Well, it depends on what you mean by alternative. An alternative, obviously, is to do what we can to assist and aid the victim, and that is to help get them medical assistance that they need and the care that they need, but also to know what their options are. They're going to know that the state, through our Alternatives to Abortion program, provides living assistance, baby supplies, all kinds of things that can help them.
And this just lies into the fundamental misunderstanding or lack of understanding that most of these Republican candidates and conservative candidates have in terms of women's reproductive right, especially if they're going through a certain trauma. That being, the reason why I'm being very subtle with my words and trying to use a different verbiage is because I'm going to upload this to YouTube and whatnot. But it's because once you got to put yourself in the mindset of someone who's been assaulted to that degree, right? In the conservative brain, they're like, oh, dumbass, just go and grab, run and just grab a Plan B. But people handle trauma very, very differently, right? It could take months for you to recover through that, years. There's still people who are, to this day, decades in, will still have a PTSD of assault to that degree, right? So, in these different reactions towards the degree of horrible assault, you can't just say that, just take a Plan B and it'll be easy from there. Bro, you don't know. You don't know what type of trauma that woman's going through that she just doesn't think of it. It's like sometimes you go through a traumatic event and then you look at it through hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, maybe I could have done this differently, maybe I could have done that differently, right? That's the moment where you think, oh shit, maybe I should have took a fucking Plan B afterwards, but I just couldn't. I just didn't feel right in my own skin at that moment. I just felt molested, right, to that degree. So, and this is where abortion steps in to be kind of the final decision of having that control over your own body, especially going through that traumatic event. So it's not as black as white as they paint it out to be. And they wanted to do that because the simpler American mind, people who lean that way will think, well, yeah, that seems like a sensible solution. Well, after you got assaulted and traumatized to the umpteenth degree that a person can be, right, almost near to death, then you could just think of it on the fly. You're not trying to collect yourself and deal with this stress and the issues that face it, right? Not to mention, your mind's gonna race to what your family, friends, and the people that you influence and vice versa is gonna think about you after going through that. The issue's not that binary. Just let women have the autonomy with their body. Let them have it. Let them have the abortion. No one's losing out on this. No one is. And don't miss me with that terminating a couple of cells. Miss me with that. Because we're in this country, have we sent our youth already to fight old people's wars? Did you care about their future? But not only you send them to fight old people's wars, when they come back, you can give less of a $2 about them, right? Look at what we're doing. Look at what these same Republican candidates, and some Democrats too, in Congress are doing with the people who went into the towers after 9/11, right? Look how much pushback they're giving to with the assistance that they need. Stop being fooled by these people. They don't give any fucks about you.
Also, we've increased funding for prenatal and postpartum care.
Thank you, Governor.
All right, I like to ramble a
We're going
lot.
to stay on the topic of abortion here. Governor Abbott has said that you support abortion on demand. Do you support any limit on when a woman can't have an abortion? In 60 seconds for this question.
This election is about reproductive freedom. If you care about this, you need to turn out and vote. I will fight to make sure that every woman in Texas can make her own decisions about her own body, her own future, and her own health care. And I will work with the legislature and my fellow Texans to return us to the standard that Texas women won in the first place, Roe versus Wade. That's the standard that answers your question. But I've got to respond to this silliness on Plan B, this comment he made about eliminating rape in the state of Texas. This is an attack on women. More women have been raped in the state of Texas than any other state. There are 3,000 rape kits at DPS headquarters, meaning that our ability to bring rapists to justice has declined by half on this governor's watch. And it's arguable that rapists enjoy more victims because more rights under Greg Abbott than their victims do, because they can sue the families of their victims if they help their victim get an abortion and be able to win a $10,000 bounty in the process.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. I'll give you a chance to respond.
Is there something that Texas is not last at? Good God. Let's switch over to Arizona. See what's going on there.
Legal immigrants coming across the border to work here in the state of Arizona, adding so much to our economy.
Yeah, we're hopping back and forth, okay? We're being a little bit
over and
ADHD
over again
with this.
From people like my opponent, Blake Masters.
Politicizing the issue, not understanding the issue. Respond, please.
Oh, I understand it very well. I understand that Mark Kelly supports open borders, and that's why we have them. He's the 50th vote in the U.S. Senate. Joe Biden needed his vote. Mark Kelly, a year ago, could have dug his heels in and said, Mr. President, I'm not supporting a single thing, not a single spending bill, not a single piece of your agenda, unless and until we get border security. Biden would have had to secure the border. Mark Kelly, if this is the result of Senator Kelly being focused on the border, my gosh, he's the most ineffective and worst senator of all time. The border's wide open. People are walking through by the hundreds of thousands. You know, if the Mexican drug cartels, if these terrorist narcos, if they could vote in this election, every single one of them would vote for Senator Kelly because they get what...
You know what's funny? You know, and why this guy's hilarious. Why would you vote as for a candidate who's diametrically opposed to a policy or legislation that enables you to make the most amount of profit, right? Think about it. If there was more secure border, if the border was more closed, that's just basically and makes the cartel more creative when it comes to distributing drugs. Or sometimes these federal agencies will allow them to walk free in between the borders, regardless if it's a Republican or Democratic president. But it's something you can look into a little bit later, maybe in more of the conspiratorial line. But you know, these cartels will get more creative, right? They'll go through the border and pass along drug prices at a higher, more exorbitant rate. Thus, they could care less. They're already making hand over fist in terms of money, and they'll make even more if we become more strict on immigration. Think about that. It's almost like the Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there.
They want from him, which is a complete wide open border, is complete free reign, and again, the fentanyl is killing our children. He's not doing a gosh darn thing to stop it.
Respond.
Yeah, the fentanyl is out of control, and it's heartbreaking. And I've spent a lot of time down there.
You can say damn.
Dallas and Yuma and Douglas. The head of CBP is Lupe Ramirez. And we've talked extensively about this. And we've talked about how this gets smuggled through the ports of entry. Really early in my term in the Senate. So you know what I did? Went back to Washington, and I got the money appropriated to rebuild our ports of entry. You know why? Because right now, if you go down there, it's 12 lanes in Nogales as an example. Mm-hmm. Only one of those lanes has the technology, the X-ray machine, that can detect the fentanyl. When we rebuild these ports of entry, because of the work I've done in the United States Senate and getting this money to Arizona, every single one of those lanes will have the technology. But the only way you can do this is through bipartisanship. And it's working together, working across the aisle to get things done like John McCain did. You know, my opponent, Blake Masters, he doesn't want to work with anybody. He doesn't even want to work with Republicans. You know, he calls Democrats psychopaths and that they're evil. That's not been the spirit of how Arizona senators work to the benefit of our state and our country.
Time on that, but I need a response from you on the idea of working with Democrats on cooperating across the aisle.
You might be able to work with Democrats like Sinema, Democrats like Joe Manchin. You can't work with Democrats like Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer, Mark Kelly. No, there's something very wrong with people who don't want to enforce federal law, who don't believe in borders. Apparently, they don't believe in our national sovereignty because they've turned over the entire border zone to Mexican drug cartels. And it is killing people. It is killing Arizonans. It's ruining our state.
He's just saying some off-the-wall shit, and I'm here for it. Jesus Christ, is this entertaining. Come on, say more stupid stuff. Come on. Come on. What you think, Biden?
You ain't black.
I didn't care for your opinion anyway.
Ruining our country. He's not doing a darn thing to stop it. And the Border Patrol understands this. Go ask a Border Patrol agent what they think of Mark Kelly. 90% of them will tell you they're disgusted by what he's failed to do. That's why the National Border Patrol Council endorsed me. The Arizona Police Association endorsed me. It's time to get back to law and order. Let's just even try. It'd be bad enough if they were trying.
Well, that's because you're going to secure their jobs for a little bit longer. That's really it. Well, to a degree. Because let's say if you do have your way, and you do get your wall, and you do get your laser pointing missiles and, armor piercing rounds and have tanks lined up at the border. Why do we need so many Border Patrol agents then? Couldn't we cut that spending because we already have the machinery and weaponry at the end of the border? It seems like at the end of the results, mostly on the Republican sides, they still lose their jobs, but they like to think that they're going to hold on to their jobs. Because eventually they're going to want to, reduce spending on that way, and they're going to just automate it, right?
To enforce federal law and failing, but they've just surrendered. They've thrown their hands up and thrown our southern border wide open. It's killing people. I'm sick of it.
45 seconds, Mark Victor. Is the border open right now, and has it been turned over to cartels?
Of course the border is open right now, and people can come through. There's no question about that. But the answer here is we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Yes, we can secure the border. We need to secure the border. It doesn't mean we have to build a wall. There may be other ways we can secure the border. Let's get a handle on who's coming in. But then let's let people in who aren't here for bad purposes. Let's welcome them. We are a nation of immigrants. We have a demographic problem right now. We need more younger workers. And also, just a quick point on civility. We need to get back to civility. We shouldn't be calling each other names and arguing across the aisle.
You lost my vote. I like calling each other names.
I agree with what Senator Kelly said here. We need to work together. People who disagree still can be agreeable. Let's sit down and have an exchange of ideas and speak like gentlemen rather than arguing and calling each other names like kids in a sandbox.
All right. I want to move to abortion. Senator Kelly, we'll start with you. Would you codify Roe v. Wade?
Of course. Let me be perfectly clear. Arizona women have totally.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I already know what he's gonna say.
But folks, this is true.
I need my fix right now.
Made only because he thinks that he should make these decisions for you.
How tall is this dude? He's like 6'7", right? He looks about 6'7". Dude is pretty tall, isn't he? Let's take a research break. Senate. That's governor. Okay, here we go. Oh, why do we even give us the F12 key? Five eight. Five eight. Oh. It doesn't say. I'm gonna say 6'7". Yeah, I'm gonna say 6'7", or 6'5". 6'5", to be conservative. Shut up.
He thinks he gets to make these choices instead of you.
Bearded you.
Blake Masters, 90 seconds here regarding a federal ban on abortion, codifying Roe v. Wade. Where do you stand?
I'm pro-life, and that means I believe in limits. Now, I support exceptions because I don't believe in being extreme on this issue. Senator Mark Kelly is the abortion radical. Senator Kelly in Washington, he voted, actually he sponsored, he didn't just vote for it, he sponsored a bill that would have mandated legal abortion nationwide, get this, up until the moment of birth. Take a second to think about how truly radical that is. Mark Kelly says any abortion is okay for any reason, all the way up until the moment a baby is due to be born. He wasn't the only radical who voted for that bill. He was joined by Elizabeth Warren, by Bernie Sanders. AOC voted for this in the House. And the only countries in the whole world that support Senator Kelly's preferred no limits extreme abortion policy are China and North Korea. So no, I'm pro-life. I believe in limits. I think we should be more like, I don't know, how about every other civilized country in the world? Just last year, Arizona passed a law
he's taller than
that
Trump.
limits abortions after 15 weeks. I
You
support
could tell.
that law. That's where Arizonans find a reasonable place to draw the line. I support limits at the federal level too, Senator.
Okay, so 6'5", 6'7", because he towers over Trump. All right. I'm sorry, that was bugging the fuck out of me.
Lindsey Graham has proposed a 15-week bill with the common exceptions, and I support that. I believe in limits. Mark Kelly believes in no limits at all. I understand why he wants to lie about my position, because his own, which is on the record, he sponsored that legislation up until birth. That is so truly radical. 80% of Arizonans are disgusted by that. So I'm going to represent the vast majority of Arizonans on this issue. He's proven that he can't.
Need a response.
It's nonsense. And what he's saying is absolutely not true. I've always been clear on this, that I support the restrictions and the protections that were allowed under Roe v. Wade. And abortion only happens, very late in pregnancy when there are serious issues. And folks, it's heartbreaking when this happens, and often the child is wanted. But my opponent, remember what he has said. I mean, he supports a national abortion ban.
Okay.
I just told you I didn't.
Criminalizes, you're going to get your chance, that criminalizes this decision.
Didn't he punch somebody? Mark Kelly punched somebody before? Or am I getting confused with another astronaut? I could have sworn he punched somebody because he was like a flat earther or something. So I'm just going all over the place now. Legendary astronaut Buzz Aldrin speaks out after suing own children. Okay, that's funny. Oh, was it Buzz Aldrin? Okay, I don't know.
He has said, and this isn't like years ago, he has said very recently that he wants to punish the doctors. He's called...
Ryan said, God, the missed opportunity to set them up by height. That'll be hilarious.
Abortion demonic, a religious sacrifice. I don't even know what that means, folks.
It is a giraffe,
What
man.
I'm doing...
I don't like giraffes.
I am protecting your constitutional rights.
Tall people.
That you have lost.
Of waste of top oxygen.
Rhetoric like this.
But real quickly, where do you draw the line on late-term abortions?
Well, under Roe v. Wade, there were protections and there were restrictions that were allowed under that law. And late-term abortion in this country only happens when there is a serious problem.
What are you two doing? Stop.
And, that's what I support. And what he says about the legislation that I voted on is just not true. And it's nonsense. And he should go back and take a look and read this. I mean, he's a lawyer. This is legislation. He can go take a look at it.
Blake, you have said that you once espoused a federal personhood law. This is a quote from you, unqualifiedly pro-life from conception, and that it has been noticed that some of these more strident positions were taken off of your website. Some say that you scrubbed them from your website. What's going on with that?
I encourage people to go read my website now. It is still the most pro-life, most detailed agenda of any Senate candidate running nationwide. I'm pro-life. I'm proud to be pro-life. I will never run from that.
From conception?
I'm pro-life as a matter of conscience. I just told you what I believe the law should be. Right? In Arizona, as a voter, I support the 15-week law with all the exceptions. I believe in federal limits. I believe at a certain point, everybody of good conscience knows. At 5 months, 6 months, my gosh, 7 months, that is a baby. And we shouldn't be killing babies for no reason when they can survive outside the womb. And that's not what his legislation did. They said they were trying to codify Roe. No, it was so much more extreme than that. They wanted to impose legal abortion nationwide up until the moment of birth. And that is way too radical. That's not what Arizonans want. Common sense limits.
And a good question follow-up. What happens after birth? Huh? What happens when Becky gets her child, births her child in a trailer park? What do you do then to protect that child? Then you do nothing. You don't care about them. You've already been used as a political tool for you, but they have no use for you as soon as they come out the womb.
Arizona has said 15 weeks makes sense. I think that makes sense.
And before we get to Mark Victor real quickly, have you always supported the 15-week limit?
Well, Arizona just passed the law last year, and Senator Graham just introduced the bill last month.
Right. But my question is, have you always supported that kind of...
I couldn't support a bill 9 months ago if it was just introduced last month.
It's not the bill, it's the limit. Have you always supported that limit? That kind of limit?
I believe Arizona's got the right to make its laws. That's the whole point of reversing Roe versus Wade. And I believe in a federal backstop. I think at the federal level, we should not be allowing late-term partial birth abortion all the way up until the moment of birth, and except
Riddle me this. We don't want the government imposing upon your rights to bear arms, right? Let's just use that one. We don't want them to come into your homes and to steal your guns from your homes, right? We don't want the federal government in your pocketbook, right? We don't want them, stealing more of your hard-earned money, and these are taxes and more tax regulations and higher tax percentage brackets that you'll be pushed in or whatever. We don't want the government to have a say-so in the immigration causes, because, the federal government, should take, pocketbook, bear arms, whatever, because, we want the federal government to be more laissez-faire when it comes to your constitutional rights and privileges, until we don't. Now we want federal powers to be into the women's uteruses. Now we want federal government to be at, to flaunt their power at the border. So which is it? When does the government become small? How does the government become small? Conceptualize it. How does the government become small if they're in the uteruses of every single woman here in this country? Right? How have they got to continue to have this absorbent amount of spending and increased amount of spending for basically a militarized border patrol agency, right? How does it become small because of that? If you notice that a lot of Republican candidates are no longer saying small government this, it seems like there's been a talking point that's been long thrown away. Like that talking point's been aborted for some reason. I'm just curious. It's fascinating to me because I haven't heard a Republican candidate so far saying anything about making the federal government smaller. Yeah, that's crazy.
for the, to save the life of the mother. I believe in limits. Mark Kelly doesn't, and that's the choice that Arizona takes in this issue.
Mark Victor, please.
Ted, this evasiveness from Blake Masters is exactly why you should have a principle and stick with it. You asked him specifically, did he scrub his website? And he said, you can go to my website now and look at it. That's evasion. That's an answer that, yes, I'm not anchored in principle. I'm anchored in principle. My positions have been exactly the same for 30 years. Look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what my personal position is on abortion, and I'm not going to tell you. We need a policy that recognizes that reasonable minds disagree on this issue.
That's funny because I was planning to wear my sunglasses for this one too.
Objectively right answer, and these politicians offer no special
not prescription,
wisdom
so
at
I'll be
all.
blind as a bat reading
chat.
chat.
A one-size-fits-all solution is a terrible idea. We're going to be fighting about it.
Oh no, he's not wearing sunglasses. His glasses I think his glasses has that protective film that activates when the light is penetrating through it. You ever seen those type of glasses? I think that's what his glasses are. Man, that is expensive. That's an expensive lens.
Forever. Congress should stay out of it. So
He's definitely libertarian. He's been saying he had us at first. He had us at first. He had us in the first half. I'm not gonna lie. Then he dropped in, well, we need the free market. I'm like, oh shit. You had me before you said that.
I'm in favor of having hard questions like this resolved in the smallest jurisdictions. That's right. Mesa should pass a law that the people in Mesa like, and the people in Tempe should pass a law that the people in Tempe like. Abortion should never.
But what if there are two things that they pass conflict with one another, thus having an issue? That's the issue with state-to-state laws, right? If there's no federal mandate that's over-encompassing those state laws. Because some states have some off-the-wall laws that are, that's a political black bill chapter. Okay. Oh, just came up with that idea. Nice. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Rambling over here.
Anywhere.
I guess animated libertarians are public records.
Be outlawed in the case of rape or in the case of health of the mother. We don't have time.
Oh, it got me. That actually got. Oh, that got me. Whoa, that's fucking. That was a loading laugh right there. I like that. The biggest enemy of libertarians are public records. It was like that one clip, right? Of shit. Let me see if I can find it. I forgot what it was. What's that libertarian candidate? See, there's so much to keep up with now. It's hard to even remember these candidates' And that used to be really good at the Fly. I think it was a driver's license debate. Right? What's it call it? Gary Johnson. That's what I'm talking about.
Mr. Peterson, I have a feeling I know how this answer is going to be. Should someone have to have a government-issued license to drive a car?
Hell no.
Dr. Feldman.
A car is like a gun or anything else. As long as you're using it right and not using it to hurt other people, you should have a right to use it. A license and a permit is just another way to get some money and inconvenience to people.
A practicing anesthesiologist is arguing against licensures. You want this motherfucker to put you to sleep before surgery? Come on. But wait, it gets worse.
Mr. McAfee.
I don't think licenses are required. However, if you are under 16 and your parents say you can drive and you haven't done it before, you should put a flashing pink light on your roof at least so we can get out of your way. But that at the most.
Mr.
I kind of actually feel ableist laughing at McAfee. I don't know what it is. Doesn't he have like huge like mental issue problems? Does that sound right coming off the tongue? Mental issue problems. That doesn't sound right coming off, does it? And it's me saying it, so it makes it sound like I have the problems too. Mental issue problems. Hey.
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is our plan.
Oh, he passed away? Oh, man. Let's do a quick Trump prayer then.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
Inshallah. All right.
Perry.
The government requires licenses for far too many things. The government requires licenses for people to broadcast radio. The government requires licenses to get married. They require a license to drive. What's next? Requiring a license to make toast in your own damn toaster? Absolutely not.
Damn. That didn't hit as hard as you think, Playboy.
Governor?
I think government has a basic responsibility to protect us against individuals, groups, corporations, foreign governments that would do us harm. In that context, a license to drive, you know, I'd like to see some competency exhibited by people before they drive.
Woo! Woo! Get him out of here! Woo!
As governor of New Mexico, I vetoed a whole lot of bills. I vetoed the haircutting license. I vetoed all sorts of licensing, but license to drive? I mean, you could, arguably, you could have an insurance requirement, I guess, that then the insurance company would determine. I mean, you got people that are blind that would be on the road, I think, that would actually continue.
No, let them drive. Freedom. Let them drive. Fuck it.
Gentlemen,
just put brails on the roads.
On the debate. You now have 60 seconds to make a closing argument. Since Mr. McAfee went first, Mr. Perry, you may go first.
Boo, just put braille on the road. Let blind people drive. Ooh, Gary Johnson, you and your government, whatever.
To get into this, but I've written extensively on this and many other issues on my website. Regarding abortions after viability, if we can keep the baby alive, we should. It's a win for the baby, it's a win for the pregnant woman, it's a win for the adoptive parents. There is no perfect solution here. We're going to be fighting about it forever. We need the best
Welcome, Chrissy
solution
Feet.
to get past
Gary
it, and
Johnson
that's
looks like a
put it in the
fucking
smallest
Einstein next to these
jurisdiction.
doofuses.
Let's stop
I know,
fighting,
right?
and let's move on.
Let's talk
Einstein.
about smaller
That's doing
jurisdictions.
a lot of heavy lifting.
Should abortion laws be at the state level and not the federal level?
No, I think there should be a national law that protects.
Bro, I can all day pull up like instances of like hilarious political moments. I might do that. One just like run off stream just to catch you guys off guard. Just do some just nonstop hilarious political moments. You know, things you're like, whoa, that happened? Wait, that happened? I have a laundry list. More of a laundry list. Why do we call it laundry list? Wait. Why do we call it laundry list? Do you make a list when you do laundry? Who does that? Why do we call it? It's just like grocery list. So stupid. Anyway, stop it.
The rights that women have.
I'm
to make
tired,
this
so
decision
I'm skipping
between
off a little bit here and there.
And their doctor. And let me be really clear about something you asked about, which was the personhood amendment. Now, folks, this is code. This is code for throwing women into jail. And that's what my opponent supports. Now, I think we all know guys like this. You know, guys that think they know better than everyone about everything. You know, you think you know better than women and doctors about abortion. You even think you know better than seniors about Social Security, and you think you know better than veterans about how to win a war. Folks, we all know guys like this, and we can't be letting them make decisions about us because it's just dangerous.
Respond, please.
I think states should decide, let the state legislatures wrestle with the tough question of how to regulate abortion early on. Texas is going to make slightly different decisions than California. It's going to make different decisions than Arizona.
You gonna let me pause? If you vote for this guy anyway, and if this guy wins, Arizona's more fucked than what it is right now. I'm telling you right now. It thing's holding on by a spider web, a thread, I guess, right? Oh my God, what the hell's going on in Arizona? That is crazy.
But I believe in a federal backstop. I don't think we should let California or Oregon let Planned Parenthood go in at 8 months and 30 days and sever spinal cords and dismember babies that his policy would allow. Unlimited abortion up until the moment of birth. He still can't articulate a clear limit. I believe in limits. Arizona has said 15 weeks is a reasonable place to draw the limit, and I agree.
I got to get a response to that, please.
Yeah, so, I mean, the protections and restrictions that were allowed under Roe v. Wade was the law of the land for over a century, or for 50 years. But what we have now here in the state of Arizona is a law from 1864. And it's exactly what my opponent, Blake Masters, wants.
But have you supported 6, 7, 8 month viability?
I have supported Roe v. Wade. You know, went into effect in 1973. This is a hard decision for women. This decision should be up to the woman with her doctor. Shouldn't be politicians like the guy to my left in Washington, D.C., making these decisions for you. I mean, he thinks he knows better than you. He thinks he knows better than doctors and women on abortion. I mean, folks, I think that's, that is a really bad place for us to be in when my opponent, Blake Masters, is making these decisions for women.
All right. I want to get to the election, and Blake, we'll start with you. Is Joe Biden the legitimately elected president of the United States?
Oh,
Joe Biden's absolutely the president. I mean, my gosh, have you seen the gas prices lately?
Oh, fucking hell. This button's going to break. It's just the amount of times we're going to use it. Come on. You were more exciting earlier. What was that? I think it's, you know what? This guy has a fire in him that we're not going to see. I think I'm going to speculate. I'm going to do one of my speculations. This guy's going to be in a huge controversy. I want to say 3 months from now, something's going to be uncovered, right? Win or lose, right? And the spotlight's going to be shed back. This guy, he gives me that feeling, right? It gives me that off feeling that he's hiding something big or something, a scandal, right? I don't know.
Legitimately
There's no doubt. I'm not
legitimately
trying to trick
elected.
you. He's duly sworn and certified. He's the legitimate president. He's in the White House. And unfortunately for all of us, right? Because you know what? Yeah, Joe Biden's the president. He has been for the last 2 years. And everything he's touched in the last 2 years has turned, well, to you know what? Everything's on fire, and it's Joe Biden's fault. I wish he weren't the president. He is.
Just say it. Everything's turned to shit.
Now, how did he get there? Okay, let's talk about that. I think it's a problem.
Just swear. You guys get away with so much. Just swear on television. Who cares? Just say it. Everything's going to shit. Right? You guys are not trying to get monetized or anything, all the extra nonsense. Your pocket's already in line by special interest groups. Just say what you got to say. As simple as that. Let's turn this country into shit. Let's turn the state to shit. You will have more people who are less willing to vote for you show up like, he keeps it real. I swear to at home.
That the FBI forced Facebook, they pressured Facebook and other big tech companies to censor true information about Hunter Biden's crimes in the weeks before the 2020 election. And so millions of Americans didn't get to read about that. They didn't get to read about Hunter Biden and his corrupt business dealings with China and the Ukraine. Business dealings which credibly implicated Joe Biden. And then the media lied to us about it. They said, oh, that was Russian disinformation. No, it wasn't. It was true. And so when the media is lying to people, helping big tech and apparently federal law enforcement censor information about presidential candidates, well, I think people start to worry about the integrity of their elections. And we need to do so much better. I believe in election day, not election season. In Brazil, they just held a presidential election, I think, on Sunday. Guess what? They counted the votes, and we got to know who won that night. And here's another thing I believe that Mark Kelly doesn't. I believe in universal voter ID.
Who won that election? Did Lula win that, or did what you call it, Bolsonaro won that? Let's just take a look at that. Dude's known to lie. Can't find nothing really concrete about it. Yeah, I can't find nothing about the election in Brazil. That's interesting.
Call me old-fashioned. I think that if you want to cast a vote in Arizona or America, you should have to show an ID. That's common sense. And I'll stand up for common sense election integrity every single time.
I need to follow up quickly. Was that election stolen? Was it rigged in any way, shape, or form enough to keep Donald Trump out of the White House?
I suspect that if the FBI didn't work with big tech and big media to censor the Hunter Biden crime story, yeah, I suspect that changed a lot of people's votes. I suspect President Trump would be in the White House today if big tech and big media and the FBI didn't work together to put the thumb on the scale to get Joe Biden in there.
But not vote counting, not election results.
Yeah, I haven't seen evidence of that, but I'm telling you what I think the problem is. I think the problem is big tech, big media working together.
Right. Okay. Well,
I think that's a problem.
Okay.
I challenge Mark Kelly to say that's a problem.
We will in just a second. Mark?
Boy, for a guy who's never been elected before, he sure sounds like a politician to me. I'll answer the question. Joe Biden won the election. I wish they both could have lost. We could use somebody up there who could have done something different. But look, this is an easy one. All people of good faith want a free, fair, accurate, open election. And we all want only people who are authorized to vote to actually vote. I have no problems at all with reasonable requirements to vote. You should be able to get an ID. They're free. If you can't get an ID, maybe you shouldn't be voting. That's not a big deal. But I am against...
Wait, I gotta fix this. I don't know why it's doing this right now. Why are you doing this right now? Okay. You know what? No. Why did it do that? No. All right, cool. I'm just going to stop there.
Unduly burdensome requirements that are calculated to make it harder for people who should be allowed to vote to actually vote. But all of this is missing the big issue, Ted. This is not our problem. Our big problem with voting is that everything is up for a vote today. I don't want anybody telling me how I should use my body, my property, my money, and my time. None of that should be up for a vote. And I don't want to tell any of you how to use your body, property, money, or time. We are a constitutional republic, not an unrestricted democracy. Today, everything is up for a vote. Very little should be up for a vote. Like, for example, who should represent the good people of the state of Arizona? That should be up for a vote. What should the age of consent be? This is something that reasonable minds disagree.
Is he about to do what I think he's about to do? Oh, no. Okay, please don't be a debate, Lord, with libertarian takes. Please.
That should be up for a vote. But
oh, no. Oh, fuck.
everything else that we are voting on that has anything to do with your body, your property, your money, your time. That's what freedom is about, folks. None of that should be up for a vote.
Mark Kelly, are there serious concerns over Arizona's election process, over the country's election process that were exposed in 2020?
Ted, let me start by saying the only reason.
You know, I don't really care because I really don't. I'm sorry. I don't. Let's go back to Texas.
30 seconds.
So once again, I'm going to be doing this a lot. I have to point out a misstatement by Bedo. I signed a law that eliminated the rape kit test backlog at the Texas Department of Public Safety.
I do too, Nana. I keep hearing that too.
Abortion. Beto's position is the most extreme because he not only supports abortion of a fully developed child to the very last second before birth, he's even against providing medical care for a baby who survives an abortion. He is for unlimited abortion at taxpayer expense.
That's not true. It's completely a lie. I never said that, and no one thinks that in the state of Texas. He's saying this because he signed the most extreme abortion ban.
Told this fool to wear a red tie. Why is he not wearing a blue tie? Oh, simple. This is what I'm talking about here. Look, if you want to hire me as a political consultant, $250K an hour, okay? This should have never happened. Why is he wearing a red tie? Why is he wearing a red tie?
In America, no exception for rape, no exception for incest. It begins.
He's wearing a red tie because he knows exactly. Oh my God, who dropped the ball there?
Begins at conception, and it's taking place in a state that is at the epicenter of a maternal mortality crisis, thanks to Greg Abbott, 3 times as deadly for black women. I will fight to make sure that every woman makes her own decisions about her own body, her own future, and her own health care. That's what most of us, Republicans and Democrats,
supposed to be wearing a blue tie
in this state believe.
Why do I care? Optics.
Seconds. Is there a limit
Do your
that
thing,
you
Uncle.
support on women getting
Do your thing, Uncle.
That limit was decided in 1973 through a victory that Jane Roe and Linda Coffey and Sarah Weddington won before an all-male United States Supreme Court. I want us to return to that. It was the law of the land for nearly 50 years until we had the most extreme abortion ban in the country.
Gromer has the next question.
Thanks, Sally. Let's move to law enforcement.
It seems like they're not allowing the candidates to speak more than the pundits that are asking the questions, and they're getting teed off that they don't get their TV moments. That's hilarious. We're 3 hours in. It's been a while since 3 hours.
You have been accused by Governor Abbott of
the next chapter is going to be 3
efforts
hours.
to defund police. He may have mentioned
No
it
one's talking to you,
tonight, actually.
Alexa.
Here's a chance for you to set the record straight.
Listen.
Do you support measures to defund police? You have 60 seconds.
Of course I don't, and no one does. But let's look at my record. I think that's the best thing to look at, and then we'll look at the governors. On the El Paso City Council, I raised police salaries 12% in the 6 years that I served there. In Congress, I funded $11 billion to local and state law enforcement across this country, including in Texas. I want to fund law enforcement, fund training so that everyone is treated equally under the law. And I want there to be accountability for when those officers abuse the public trust. But let's look at what Greg Abbott's done. When police and law enforcement begged him not to sign permitless carry because it allows anyone to carry a gun in public without a background check, he turned his back on them, did it anyhow. Homicides have gone up 50%, and we now...
Are we arguing for police? You see what I'm talking about when it comes to Bedo? You see what I'm talking about here? Isn't it interesting? The just dynamic shift.
Have gun violence
Spineless
as a leading
reptilians.
cause of death for children and teenagers in this state. When the Uvalde Police Department asked for funding, he turned his back on them. He is not doing what keeps us safe. That's why you see the level of rape, violent crime, and homicide up on Greg Abbott's watch.
Just a quick follow-up, Mr. O'Rourke. Can you take 15 seconds to answer this? After the summer of 2020, did you voice support for cities that cut their police budgets? Minneapolis comes to mind. Did you support those efforts?
What I supported and what I continue to support is full funding for law enforcement, full funding that includes training to ensure that we're treating everyone equally under the law, and we definitely need accountability and justice. If someone abuses the power of life and death over our fellow citizens, without accountability, we lose the ability to keep our communities safe.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. Governor Abbott, you have spoken about the growing crime in Texas in your commercials and on the campaign trail. You've been governor for more than 7 years. So why is crime up? Don't you bear some of the responsibility for it?
So I'll fully answer that question. Let me first...
You have 60 seconds, by the way.
Let me reply, and that is, once again, Beto misleads by saying that we denied Uvalde Police Department any money. We've answered every call they've ever made to make sure they have whatever funding they need.
Motherfuckers
And
are
Beto
pro-cops, man. Good God.
clearly said that in response to Minneapolis, that he supports their idea of defunding and dismantling police. And I got to add this. He didn't say a word to criticize the city of Austin that defunded their police by more than $100 million.
I'm not anti-law enforcement. I'm just not pro-cop.
The law I passed will prevent any city from defunding the police because in Texas, we support our law enforcement officers, period. The reason why there's been a rise in crime in some areas, Gomer, is because of another issue we're working on. And that's what's happening in Harris County and some other counties where in Harris County, they have these easy bail policies that Beto supports, which is cashless bail, that is letting dangerous criminals, such as people recently convicted of murder last year, back out on the streets now who killed a police officer recently in Houston, Texas.
Governor, take 15 seconds to answer this again. You've been governor for 7 years. Crime is up. Do you bear any responsibility for that?
So let me again explain what happened. In Austin, after they defunded the police, the year after that, they had the highest number of murders ever. In Harris County, where they have this easy bail policy, in the past couple of years, there have been hundreds of people killed by people let out on bail who had been previously arrested for murder.
Thank you, Governor. Our next topic comes from one of our viewers. Actually, Britt has more on that.
Yes, Grover, thank you so much. Candidates, I have our first viewer question for you. And just so you know, we use this as a jumping off point to then craft our own question for you. So here is Douglas Tyler out of Hayes County with his question. Douglas.
Governor, what steps would you take to ensure that there is not another ERCOT failure like we had during the winter of 2021? How would you increase the generation capacity and reliability? Is it time for Texas to face reality and join the rest of the country in the cooperative grid system?
Okay, clearly Douglas asked a lot of questions about the grid. Many Texans have similar questions, so we're going to break them down one by one. And for that, I will send it back over to my colleague, Steve.
Thank you, Britt. And I want to thank Douglas for that question. And Governor Abbott, first for you. Following the outages in February of 2021, the legislature passed 18 different pieces of legislation aimed at improving the grid. An energy expert, Ed Hers from the University of Houston, said last month, quote, "No question the grid's better than it was at this time last year. The governor says it's never been more reliable."
Interesting. We saw what happens with the grid last time. No.
But if you're getting up off the floor, any kind of movement is better than what it was, end quote. Governor Abbott, what do you make of that assessment of the state grid? Are you confident in its reliability? You have 60 seconds.
Very confident. In fact, I even guaranteed the power would stay on before we faced that winter afterwards. When Bedo was campaigning, saying that the grid was going to fail in the winter and summer, his campaign hopes fell apart because the laws that I signed did secure the grid. Ever since I signed those reform laws, no Texan has lost power because of the Texas power grid. And know this, Steve, and that is this summer we set 11 new all-time records for heat. Time and again, the power grid was able to keep up, and it's because of the reforms we were able to make. And so the power grid remains more resilient, more reliable than ever before. To go ahead and answer Douglas's question, which we appreciate, one reason why it's more reliable is because we have greater power available to us and a greater ability by the Public Utilities Commission to address it. But also, we are going to be adding more non-renewable power, such as natural gas, to make sure that the power stays on.
Thank you, Governor. Mr. O'Rourke, same question. You know, there hasn't been any major issues with the grid, with outages since the winter of 2021.
It's just gonna get worse. We already know what happened. Nothing's gonna get done. Might start to wrap this up because it's just not hitting it.
What do you make of the changes that Governor Abbott and the legislature?
But I keep going on
put
for you
in
people
to make
if you
the
want.
grid
That's what you
more
want.
reliable. They say more reliable. What would you do differently? You have 60 seconds.
Governor Abbott's grid failure is part of a pattern over these last 8 years. Warned about, for example, school violence and gun violence specifically against children, does nothing. Warned about problems within Child Protective Services, our foster care program, does nothing, and it gets worse. Warned before February 2021 that we had problems in the grid, he did nothing. When the blackout started, he ordered the price of electricity pegged at its highest allowable rate. Gas started trading at 200 times what it had sold for the day before. Now we are all paying $45 more on average in our monthly utility bills. It's the Abbott tax that all of us pay. 700 of our fellow Texans lost their lives because of his incompetence and his inability to do what was necessary before February of 2021. And the kicker is the grid is still not fixed. Just ask Toyota. They stopped their third shift in San Antonio because it was drawing too much power. We had 3 conservation notices this summer. We are not ready for this next winter. We need a governor who's going to do the right thing.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. Governor, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Sure. All Beto does is fearmonger on this issue, when in reality, the grid is more resilient and reliable than it's ever been. I do want to respond to the price because, importantly, Texans need to know this, and that is, after Uri, after the reforms that we passed.
No. Tell them the truth. You messed up. You effed up big time. A lot of people lost their lives because you guys want to line your pockets, right? Because, you know, we couldn't do anything that's socialist or whatever in Texas. You know, we couldn't help out the people now. No. You know, don't let a good crisis go to waste. Rob them blind when they're most desperate. Jesus Christ, just play.
Texas has one of the lowest electricity prices in the country, far below the national average, and less than half of what the electricity price is in California.
Thank you, Governor.
It's one of the fastest growing costs in the state of Texas. And when you look at our higher energy bills, our higher property taxes, $20 billion more under Greg Abbott, you see that he's the largest driver of inflation in the state of Texas right now.
I'll give you 15 seconds, Governor.
Sure. So he just makes this stuff up because,
that's all fact.
Again, the reality is the electricity cost in Texas remains one of the lowest in the entire United States of America and far lower than the national average.
Ask the people who are paying it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Sally has the next.
That's one good thing about Bedo. He don't hold back.
Question.
You know, we know he's an empty suit, but still.
There's a lot of teachers.
Sometimes the real person comes out, and that's hilarious.
Who are watching and who would like to know the answer to this next question. Texas school districts are hampered by an unprecedented teacher retention crisis. A Texas teacher workforce report
finally
reveals there were more than 13,000 new teachers.
Finally, and it says something I understand because we did a political blackmail chapter. Finally. Let's see.
In Texas for the start of the 2010-2011 school year. Okay, look at that number. Flash forward to the 2019-2020 school year. Less than half of those teachers remained. Former teachers cited everything from pay to burnout to safety as problems. Mr. O'Rourke, I want to start with you for this next question. How are you going to keep qualified teachers in the classroom? And you have 60 seconds.
I mentioned earlier that Amy and I are raising our 3 children in El Paso, where they attend the world-class public schools there. And we know firsthand the important job that those educators do. And I want every educator out there to know that I've got your back. And I'm going to make sure that we pay you enough not to work a second or a third job. Because of Greg Abbott, our teachers are underpaid on average by $7,500 a year. I'm going to ensure that you have more valuable classroom time to connect with those kids.
You know how they needed to start, I'm going to say this at the end of it, how now most debates should go on now, especially after what Biden just passed, his executive order,
So we're going to
decriminalizing
stop the STAR test,
pardoning
and allow you
a lot
to
of
focus on drawing
low-level
forward
drug
that
offenders
lifelong
when it comes
love
to
of
marijuana.
learning from every child before you. For our retired teachers, I'll make sure you have a cost of living adjustment every single year going forward. You haven't had one in 18 years, 8 of those on Greg Abbott's watch. And most importantly, I will treat you with the dignity and respect that you have earned and that you deserve. You sacrifice and give so much to our kids and to this state. We need to make sure we're holding up our end of the bargain. As governor, I will.
30 seconds to respond to this follow-up. You say that you do support teachers. Do you support giving them a pay raise if you're elected? And if so, how are you going to pay for that?
Absolutely, I want to give them a pay raise. I want to make sure, again, that they're not working that second or third job. What I propose to do, and there's Republican and Democratic support for this, is raise the state's share of school funding. Right now, we ask property taxpayers, the homeowners and renters out there, to shoulder the majority of the burden. I want to make sure that the state is shouldering its fair share. We do that, we can reduce your property taxes at home and provide more funding for our schools, increase teacher pay, and more per pupil funding in every district in Texas.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. Governor Abbott, same question. How are you going to keep qualified teachers in the classroom is the question. Can you answer that for me in 30 seconds?
I will, but I got to say that raise the state share of education funding is exactly what we did both in 2019 and 2021. In fact, I provided more funding for education than any governor in Texas.
Oh, man, Abbott's is so boring. Good God. Those incumbent Republicans, man.
That we're having this conversation is because my opponent, Blake Masters, put out a video questioning who won the presidential election here in the state.
Oh, we're skipping this.
And I was able to vote in a this election.
Oh, is this where it cuts off?
It's totally fine. I'm just saying, can we please count the votes and know who won on election day like a first world country? Brazil can do it. So I think we should demand no less.
Wait. Didn't he say that that Joe Biden is our president? Oh, God. Maybe I shouldn't have skipped it.
How many people on active duty and veterans wind up getting deployed overseas? And that option would go away in his plan to just vote on election day. He mentioned voter ID. I'm okay with that. These are conspiracies and lies that have no place in our democracy. I'm worried about what's going to happen here, this election in 2024. I mean, we could wind up in a situation where the wheels come off of our democracy, and it's because of folks like Blake Masters that are questioning the integrity of an election. We do elections.
Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing right now? Not that. Not me. Hold on. Not me. Hold on. Look at it.
Well, in the state of Arizona. And, folks, it's got to stop. I encourage you to vote. Our democracy is stronger when everybody votes. My opponent wants to make that harder for everybody.
Are you trying to make things harder for people to vote?
I want to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. I want universal voter ID. He pretends to be okay with it. He wouldn't actually support it if it came to a vote in the United States Senate. Look, of course I support absentee ballots for military service members.
Anyone here good at sign language? Jesus Christ, just play the dang video.
It's ridiculous and just a flat-out, bald-faced lie to suggest that I don't. It's totally fine. I'm just saying, can we please count the votes and know who won on election day like a first world country? Brazil can do it. So I think we should demand no less in the United States of America. But you notice he didn't talk about the FBI working with big tech, working with the media to suppress, to censor true information about Hunter Biden's crimes, corrupt business dealings, China, Ukraine. They implicated Joe Biden.
Oh my God. Who gives a shit about Hunter Biden? Who cares? A politician's child is reaping the benefits and money from being just, showered with nepotistic, I don't even know if that's a word. Shower of nepotism and the gifts that comes with that. And he's so happy to be a degenerate child. That's almost every president's child. Let's not pretend like Hunter Biden's some sort of special case. He's not, okay? He's not. If we look at the Trump, if we look at Junior, what has he really done? What has he created? What has he done with daddy's money at the time? Come on. I don't care. Who gives a shit? Hey.
Pushed under the rug. Millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people in Arizona didn't get to hear about that.
Okay.
I strongly suspect that changed the results of the election. And unfortunately for the whole country, because look how bad we're suffering after 2 years of Joe Biden and Mark Kelly.
Was it a question more of information not getting out or complaints that the election process itself is, quote, rigged and allows for
How are you curious about this?
We had multiple audits of the election here in Arizona in 2020. We had a partisan audit. What did they find? It was accurate. I find it interesting that my opponent, Blake Masters, is standing up for veterans here for a second because, what I've heard during the last, year or so is just insulting to veterans. It's kind of insulting, let me just say. Saying our military is totally incompetent, saying there's rot in the military, saying things like, we haven't been in a just war since before World War II. Folks, let me tell you what he's talking about here.
Okay.
He's saying that World War II was unjust.
Wait, what?
Hundreds of thousands of Americans die in that war. And I just find it pretty insulting. We've got about 500,000 veterans here in the state of Arizona. Many of them, vote by mail. We've got 80% of Arizonans vote by mail. I imagine my opponent, Blake Masters, has voted by mail. And now he wants to take that away from us because he wants fewer people to vote. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Do you want to take away vote by mail?
No.
And hard
Surprise?
stop, huh?
I never said I did. Some people have good reasons to vote by mail. If you're on an aircraft carrier in the Indian Ocean, that sounds like a pretty good reason for an absentee ballot, right?
What about a suburban?
Wait, how's that anyone's? How's that not a rich person's problem? What?
Urban housewife.
I'd be okay with that if she enclosed a copy of her driver's license. I think that if you want to cast a vote by mail, you should at least include a copy of your driver's license.
What do you think, Mark?
We've been doing this for 20 years in the state of Arizona.
That's a no, by the way.
This has been it's absolutely a no. 80% of Arizonans vote by mail. This has been challenged in the courts. We have a stronger democracy when more people vote. We had a lot of people. We had a lot of people turn out in the last election. Highest turnout ever in the last election. Our governor, Doug Ducey, says we do elections well. These elections were audited and they were certified by Democrats and Republicans. But conspiracy theories, like the one he's peddling, is dangerous to our democracy, folks. I mean, we're on the verge of the wheels coming off of this thing. We've got to get back to a better place.
All right, you want to talk about the military aspect of what
Yes, there's a reason. 57% of the veterans in Arizona are supporting me right now. 72% of active duty military service members right now in Arizona are supporting me. That's what my latest internal polling says. And there's a reason for that. Yeah, I speak out and I criticize General Milley. I criticize the top layer of military leadership, these very political. Obama did this, right? He purged the military of so many great generals, apolitical generals. And he elevated in their place left-wing mediocrities like General Milley. You've all seen at home General Milley testifying in front of Congress, bloviating about white rage, talking about how we need to teach our soldiers critical race theory. In the United States Navy right now, they are forcing sailors to use gender pronouns. The military is not a woke social experiment. I won't tolerate that. It should be focused on lethality.
Is that actually happening? Is that actually happening? If it's actually happening, if it's actually happening, who the fuck? Oh, that should probably change the background there. Who the hell cares? Who cares? I'm gonna fix this chat thing that's going on. I should probably bring it back to white. But yeah, who cares?
And projecting force to defend America and her allies. Our service members who wear the cloth of the nation demand no less, they deserve no less. And when I'm in the Senate, I'm going to work with Tom Cotton to get rid of this wokeness. Yeah, it's a rot in so much of our military. Our troops deserve way better, and when I'm in charge, they're going to get it.
Veteran, talk to us here.
There's lots to talk about here. First of all, to say that because one general supported crazy wokeness in the military, and I certainly agree with Blake on this, this is not a place for political correctness. Our military exists to defend our country. But because one general said something ridiculous is not an indictment of the entire general officer corps throughout our military. I've had many interactions with Marine Corps officers, and I can tell you, very squared away group. I have nothing but respect for the officers that I've met in the Marine Corps. Also, General Mattis, General Kelly, people who walked away from Donald Trump and the exact same policies that Blake Masters is now promoting. These were quality generals, and they had reasons to walk away from the exact same policies.
Okay, gentlemen.
Good God.
We're running short on time. We've got to talk about water.
I am too.
And I wish we had more time to talk
Finally.
about this. But Senator Kelly, we'll start with you. 45 seconds. Let's start there and see how far we go. We're facing short-term, long-term cuts of Colorado River water. How do we address this issue? And it is an issue.
Yeah, it's a major issue. I mean, this is the worst drought that this part of the planet has seen in 1,000 years. It's been going on 22 years. Lake Powell and Lake Mead are at crisis low levels. And we've got to take some immediate steps. I got money from Washington to help farmers keep water up in Lake Mead. That's just a stopgap measure. We can't do this all on our own. We're one of 3 lower basin states with Nevada and California. I was on the phone recently with the California governor because they're not stepping up to help. You know, my opponent's solution to this, he wants to privatize our water. He wants to send our water rights to Wall Street. He wants to send your Social Security savings to Wall Street, but our water too.
And
that's not a serious
we are running
approach to this problem.
Short on time. I need a response from you and a water plan. Can you do?
Y'all state is fucked. Y'all state is fucked. Y'all, Arizona. Good God, man.
Do it in a minute.
I think I can. Senator Kelly recently gave a news interview where he said, don't worry, our water crisis in Arizona is not existential. Well, I disagree. I'm here to tell you that it is. I was shocked and dismayed a few weeks ago when the federal government cut Arizona's water allocation, 592,000 acre feet. For all you water nerds out there, that's a lot of water that the feds cut. That's our water. Guess how much California had to cut? 0. Guess what Mark Kelly did about it? Nothing. I'm tired of Senator Kelly acting like the 3rd senator from California. We need someone in there with sharp elbows who's going to fight for our water. The late John McCain called for the renegotiation of the 1922 Colorado River Compact. Let's renegotiate that. I will. But you know what? We also need technology, and I can wrap this up in 10 seconds, Ted.
Please do.
Why is California even putting its straw into the Colorado River? That water should be Arizona's. Look at a map. California is on the Pacific Ocean. The future is desalination plants powered by nuclear reactors and pipelines.
Okay.
We can solve this problem with technology and sharp elbows. I will do it because I want my boys to be able to choose to live in Arizona decades from now.
Very quickly, Mark.
Not that quick. I got a few things to say on this.
It's got to be because we're running out of time.
I've had very little time during this debate, and I'd like to give an answer on this question.
But we're not going to be able to get heard if you go too long.
Let me incorporate some things that Blake said. Blake made some very good points on this issue, and I'm going to give him credit. We got short-term and long-term solutions. I'm here to tell you about hard questions. Almost 80% of our water in this state, in the middle of the desert, goes to agriculture. Sorry, that doesn't make sense. We can put our agriculture, we can get it from places where they can more efficiently produce these goods. The market...
Wait, that's the necessity for you guys to receive food. Okay.
price of water should determine.
And that is it, sir. I'm sorry, but we just ran out of time. We've got to get to closing statements and going.
It did that dude wrong. It did my boy dirty. It did my boy dirty. Oh man, that was grimy. Oh, that was so messed up.
In reverse order of our opening remarks, we start with Mark Kelly.
Yeah, let me just say something. What my opponent said about being existential. It's not existential. We're going to solve this problem on water. I think what folks heard tonight here were starkly different views of our state and our country. On abortion, my opponent.
I'll sum it up. You guys are fucked in Arizona. All right, let's go to Texas.
History.
Let's skip a little bit.
I want others to be able to have that same sense of joy, not only that my wife and I have had, but also that our daughter has had. In general, one thing that we've been able to achieve across the entire state of Texas.
Wait, have you moved to?
You have 60 seconds.
I'm gonna rewind
Let's
this.
look at the issues that you brought up, and that is.
Have you moved too far to the right?
As a Catholic, and my wife and I, we've been pro-life our entire lives. So much so that it grew even stronger when we adopted our daughter. On the day she was born, I was the very first person to hold her after she was born. And I've seen firsthand the power that adoption can have. And it just further strengthened my belief in the power of giving life to every child possible, seeing how it can happen so successfully. And I want others to be able to have that same sense of joy, not only that my wife and I have had, but also that our daughter has had. In general, one thing that we've been able to achieve across the entire state of Texas, we've ensured that we provide opportunity for everybody. Grover, as we gather here tonight, Texas ranks #1 in jobs created by black business owners and jobs created by Hispanic women business owners.
Governor Abbott, just 10 more seconds.
What?
Have you moved too far to the right, though?
Yeah, that's the question.
And what I tried to explain to you, Gromer, is that I'm governing from principles.
You haven't had one in 18 years, 8 of those on Greg Abbott's
Hold
watch.
on one second, guys.
I can tell you about.
I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. This is your.
For rebuttals. So let's start with you, Governor Abbott. University of Houston political scientist Brandon Rottinghouse said the following, quote, "In Texas politics, it's adapt or die. Greg Abbott didn't start his career as a right-wing Republican, but he certainly ended up there." Governor Abbott, you signed.
I'm hopping around.
In jobs created by black business owners and jobs created
They
by
didn't care.
Hispanic women.
But I know where I'm
business
at.
owners.
I got you guys.
Governor Abbott, just 10 more seconds. Have you moved too far to the right, though?
Yes, he has. Move
What I
on.
tried to
We
explain to
know.
you, Gromer, is that I'm governing from principles. I'm not looking at changing and constantly flip-flopping positions like other people do. I'm governing from my principles.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Abbott. Mr. O'Rourke, you served as a congressman from West Texas from 2013 to 2018. Since then, you had a close but unsuccessful run for Senate with Cruz in 2018. 2 years later, in 2020, you had an unsuccessful run for president. Now you're running for governor. Why have you run for so many different offices? Is it about ambition or public service? You have 60 seconds.
You know, I feel so lucky that through so much of my life, I've had the opportunity to serve others. As a small business owner in El Paso, Texas.
That's even a question. Why are you trying so hard to obtain power? That's basically what that question is reduced to. Why do you keep trying every time you lose? Well, yeah, at least give the man some props. If he's taking the L, he'll take the L and then keep coming. At least he's fighting for it.
Creating high skill, high wage.
He might not win this one,
jobs.
but at least he fought for it.
As a member of the city council, as a member of Congress on the House Veterans.
But let's face it, this is the best Texas can do in terms of the suit, and the label and branded Democrat. Okay, it's the best Texas has to offer.
Delivering for those who put
their
their
mind.
lives on the line for this country, for all of us. It has been the honor of my lifetime. And now to be able to overcome these failures that we see in Texas right now, whether it's a grid that doesn't work, teachers who are leaving the profession by the thousands, leading the nation in the
We have
number
2
of school
seconds.
shootings. Being able to deliver for people who are counting on us at this moment of truth to make sure that we come through. And it's not just me, and it's not just my political party. There are hundreds of thousands of people across the state of Texas who want change and are working for it. And it's my honor to be able to lead this campaign and to serve as the next governor of this state to make sure that we deliver for them.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. Let's go back to Britt now for another topic inspired by a viewer question.
Yes, another viewer question for you tonight, candidates. And we did use this to then craft our own question as a heads up. So first, that initial question from a Nexstar News Nation viewer. It's from Missy Pena out of New Braunfels. Here's Missy.
Uh-oh.
What are your plans to help get mortgage rates under control and make sure that housing stays affordable for everyone to avoid the issues we had in 08, 09, where everyone was losing their homes to foreclosure?
I can answer that question. They ain't gonna do nothing, bro. we about to get hit. We're about to get hit. We're about to get mollywop. Ain't nothing none of those candidates can do for you, woman. It's a wrap. The powers that be actually control this. None of these puppet candidates can, or public yeah, none of these puppet candidates can. All right.
Charge complete.
Oh, that's nice. See, look.
Now we have our own question that includes things on property taxes, and for that, I will send it over to Steve.
Thank you, Britt, and thank you, Missy, for that great question. You know, property taxes make up a hefty amount of most people's mortgages in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Mr. O'Rourke, I want to ask you this question first. The governor's proposed using half of the $27 billion budget surplus to provide what he says is the largest property tax cut in state history. That does not relieve the long-term property tax burden that many Texas residents feel. How would you provide long-term property tax relief? You have 60 seconds.
You know, about the governor's proposal, you have to ask yourself where this guy's been for the last 8 years. People across this state are hurting. The average Texan now is paying more in taxes than the average Californian. When you combine that with his failure in the grid that has sent our
Bro, what is everyone's beef with California? Like, I understand. It's like a lip shit state. But is this like the punch up or something? Like, why are you guys always sitting on California? Your situation is extremely worse. Did you forget what your senators did when shit hit the fan during the winter crisis, the storm crises? You say like all of them were trying to dip out? Stop worrying about California. Worry about your own damn state.
Energy bills through the roof and the cost of housing. He's the single greatest driver of inflation in the state of Texas. This is how we can turn it around. One, let's expand Medicaid. We'll go from a state that's the least insured to one where everyone can see a doctor or be able to fill a prescription. It will also reduce our property taxes because right now you are on the hook for uncompensated indigent care. Two, let's up the share of state spending for public ed. I talked about it earlier. The state spends 40%, local property taxpayers 60%. Under my leadership, we'll get that to 50-50, reduce the pressure on local property taxpayers. And third, let's make sure that there's property tax fairness. Corporations in this state are not paying their fair share. That means all of us pay more.
Thank you, sir. Governor Abbott, I want to ask you the same question. How do you provide long-term property tax relief? You also have 60 seconds.
Sure, so property tax relief is central to this election and to Texans at home, just like Missy. And know this, there's only one person on this stage tonight who's ever raised property taxes, and that is Bedo. Bedo raised property taxes 3 times when he was on the city council in El Paso. I will never raise property taxes. And one thing he knows also, and that is the state of Texas does not levy a property tax. That's only...
You don't have to, Abbott. You can't fight this the free market, bruv. You can't. Inflation is a mofo. You gonna raise property taxes. Don't think you gonna skirt around that. It's gonna happen. Whether you want to or not, it's gonna happen.
Done at the local level. And so what the state of Texas has done, and we will continue to do, is to drive down the ability of the local governments from being able to raise taxes. And I'm the only one with a bold vision for actually cutting property taxes, as you pointed out. Because of our strong economy in Texas, we have a budget surplus of $27 billion. I want to use at least half of that $27 billion to drive down property tax rates. Steve, it can be done in a long-term basis if we use that to lower the school property tax.
The most replayed portion is the end.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you 15 seconds.
What?
Thank you. Like many local leaders, we have to deal with unfunded mandates sent down by Greg Abbott.
The most replayed part of this video is the end of it.
The largest provider of mental health care services are schools. As governor, I'll make sure that we expand Medicaid, forgo another $500 million in revenue. Again, makes no sense.
Thank you,
Let's
sir.
legalize marijuana and get this
we
done.
need to move on because I want to make sure we give the governor a chance to answer my next question.
I'm skipping
Your
because some of
campaign
this
team
is
has
just
seen-
boring.
said since taking office, property taxes have been reduced by
It's a
$18
PPP
billion.
special.
Yet those reductions have not kept pace with rising property values that increase the taxes homeowners pay. How do you solve this problem without introducing additional revenue streams? You have 30 seconds.
Sure. So one way that we have reduced property taxes is through those homestead exemptions. Another way that we've done it is by buying down the property tax rate at the school district level. And what I propose to do with this $13.5 billion, if not more, is to drive down those property tax rates even further. My goal is to eliminate the school property tax that's imposed in the state of Texas so that people can genuinely own their own home without being taxed out of it.
Mr. O'Rourke, I want to give you 15 seconds.
He's had 8 years to get this done. If it's such a good idea, why are we talking about another 4 years to accomplish that? I will reduce your property taxes as governor. This guy has...
None of them are. They're lying to you. So they're lying to every single person watching this, including us. They don't care. They don't care, bro. They don't care about your property tax. The powers that be controls that, okay? Not them.
Raised them by $20 billion, 40% increase since he first took office. You want more property taxes, vote for Greg Abbott.
Oh, Jesus.
Governor, I'm going to give you 15
Sure.
seconds.
So anybody who knows anything knows the state does not raise property taxes. The only reason why it would have gone up is because of valuations. That would mean that I get credit for the biggest enrichment that people have had. I will not take that. One thing we have to do to add on top of it, we need to reduce the appraisals. We've got to completely change the appraisal system.
Thank you, sir. We're running out of time. Let's actually throw it over to Britt now.
Thank you, and thank you, gentlemen. You made it. That's all the time we have for questions tonight. And now it's time for your closing statement. So, Mr. O'Rourke, we'll start with you tonight. 30 seconds for your closing statement. Your time starts now.
Thank you. Look, I don't think that Greg Abbott wakes up wanting to see children shot in their schools or for the grid to fail, but it's clear that he's incapable or unwilling to make the changes necessary to prioritize the lives of our fellow Texans.
Yeah.
That's why it's on all of us to make sure that we have change at the ballot box this November 8th. I'll keep your lights on. I'll make sure that I keep your kids safe. We'll reduce property taxes, and we'll prioritize the lives of each and every single Texan in this state.
Mr. O'Rourke, thank you so much. Now, Governor Abbott, your 30 seconds starts now.
Texas ranks #1 for the most new jobs added since you reelected me. We're #1 for blue ribbon schools, #1 for tier 1 research universities, and #1 in so many categories. I'm running for reelection to keep Texas #1, to cut your property taxes, to secure the border, to keep dangerous criminals behind bars, and to keep deadly fentanyl off our streets. Together, we will keep Texas #1.
Governor Abbott, thank you so much. And that concludes our debate tonight. I want to thank the candidates and our moderators for being here with us tonight.
I see why
and
this
for
is the most
participating.
replayed.
I also want to thank the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley for hosting us here in South Texas tonight. Up next, you will be able to watch the Texas governor's race post-debate speech. Now, you can watch this online or right here. If you don't see it, check your local listing. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And to all of Texas, good night and take care.
Oh, was that fun? Was that fun? Oh, it was a long, drawn out stream. And we did it. We did 2 debates back to back, simultaneously. You know, we watched them. We criticized them. We took our breaks. We went almost 4 hours in. The YouTube video has decided to poop itself out. Are we gonna finish the Arizona one? Not so much. because the thumbnail for the YouTube video is about the Texas one, so might as well wrap it up with a nice bow in there. And we also saw there's a potential for Armageddon. So as I lay my head to rest, and some of you will too as well, or are already asleep, good, my voice put you to sleep. Sue Sunder. Tomorrow we might wake up to Armageddon. Look forward to it. Anyways, if you like the project that I'm doing here, I'm just gonna give you a call to action, especially for those people who want to make it to the end or skip to the end. I go by GXG. This is a platform for you and me. Thank you for stopping by. And as my words, as positive words here, I want to say that regardless of the outcome of what's going to transpire the next day or the day after that, I want to tell you specifically, you are special. You are important, right? You may not be as kind as you think you are, or you may find yourself questioning your humbleness, but know that you're worth it, right? And with that being said, thanks to everyone here. Stay classic. Denzel, where's my milk?
Come back when you're a little richer. Come back when you're a little lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Come back when you're a little richer. Lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Come back when you're a little. Come back when you're a little lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Come back when you're a little richer. Lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamb oil. When you're a little lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Come back when you're a little richer. Lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Come back when you're a little. Come back when you're a little lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Come back when you're a little richer. Lamb oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamb oil.
You know, I spend a lot of time, thinking about all the shit I could have done. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I think I could have been the motherfucking president. Shit. Nigga, I wish things had been different. I mean, I'd do anything in the motherfucking world just for things to be different.